Coming up on This Week in Google, I, Mikah Sargent, am subbing in for Leo Laporte. I am joined by Paris Martineau and Jeff Jarvis, and we have a great show planned for you. First, we start talking about the Google Pixel event that we can expect in August, what will be there, and who's excited about it and who's not. Then we also talk about Jeff discussing a bill that will have Facebook and others paying news companies for journalism online, as well as Amazon's plans to start charging for a smarter version of its voice assistant. Along with that, we cover several other stories about Google and AI, including the Google changelog, like Google getting rid of infinite scroll and saying goodbye to stack. All of that, and trust me, there's a whole lot more coming up on This Week in Google. Stay tuned.
Podcasts you love
from people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is This Week in Google, episode 774, with Jeff Jarvis, Paris Martineau, and me, Mikah Sargent, recorded Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. My AI Fiancé. It's time for This Week in Google, and I am Mikah Sargent subbing in for Leo Laporte, who has the day off. Pleased to be here with you all, and of course, pleased to be here with our awesome hosts. Up first, Paris Martineau. Hello, Paris.
Hello. Always happy to be here.
You and your plants, always happy to be here, hopefully.
You can't see it, but off-screen to me where my giant monstera is, it's truly so close to tipping over. I've got to repot it instantly. It's grown far too big for the small pot I have to contain it.
And also joining us, possibly plantless, is Jeff Jarvis. Are there plants?
I kill them. I kill them. I have a thumb that if I touch a plant, it just wilts and dies.
That could be a good service for people if they've got weeds.
That's
you just
true.
Stick your thumb in there and it's taken care of.
That's true.
Especially blackberry bushes. Those things don't like to go away.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Are blackberry bushes a scourge?
Yes. Listen, I think that I've heard more about blackberry bushes living in Northern California than I ever have in my entire life. Everybody here complains about blackberry bushes, and it's a thing. They try to get rid of them, and they are hard to get rid of, and they just continue to exist. And you can.
Do they make pies along the way?
They should.
Yeah.
But I think they just don't like them because they will cut them down to the roots and pour weird things on them to try to get them to go away. And
Californians, jeez.
Weird
We've got to
people.
make room for more almonds, I guess.
That must be what it is. More almonds and, the more tech bros. I don't know. Whatever else kind of roots into society and doesn't let go.
Ice plant.
Yeah, exactly. All right. I want to kick things off with a Google story.
Whoa, on this show?
That would be unusual.
Very show.
Boy, you're revolutionary, man.
The only thing that I'll say, though, is the only thing that I'll allow to be first in front of the Google story that I'm thinking of is if Paris has another one of those weird things that last time I was on the show, Paris, you talked about. Last time I learned about new forms of cryptocurrency.
Listen, no, but I'll find some while we're talking about
Okay,
Google.
while you look for that, I want to talk about Google announcing what it calls a surprise event. And I think it is a little bit surprising given that typically Google hardware events are leaked to the press way ahead of time. Everybody knows exactly what things are going to look like. And this time, at least as it stands, it doesn't seem to be that people know a whole lot about precisely what the devices are. It's going to be taking place at 10 a.m. On August, what day is that? August 10th? No, August 13th.
And at Google, right?
At Google, Google Bayview campus. And we believe that it will feature the Pixel 9, the Pixel Watch 3, and as you might imagine, a non-hardware feature, which is Google's latest in AI. How are we feeling? Are we excited?
Paris?
Jeff, you're the big Google user. Are you excited for any news coming to your products?
I mean, I've got a little bit of Leo disease in me. I want to buy things.
Oh no!
You know? So we were just talking before we got on the air about we were mentioning seltzers that we liked, and I mentioned the wonderful French Badois, and Mikah said it's a good thing Leo's not here because he would have ordered 6 cases by then. So I got a little bit of that in me, and my phone is a 6.
Oh, so it's time.
I think it may be time. My wife will make fun of me because she used her Apple for like 40 years. And I am interested in what the AI can do on the device. So if I want to play with that, I have to get a new device. Right? That's my excuse. No, that's
honestly that.
I think it is a good excuse.
It's a good excuse. It is a good excuse. And I know it's one that we all use, but genuinely it is well, okay, hold on. I might take that back just a little bit. Normally, I would say that's a good excuse, but how often is this show actually about Google things? So really,
well, before he does this show, he does a show about AI only, so it would be a really good excuse.
It's perfect for AI inside. Yes.
Yeah, and I might be editing a book series about AI, so it's my biz.
That as well. No, I think it's a good idea. I'm kind of curious to see what Google is going to introduce in terms of on-device processing for sure, because we saw how Apple kind of put forth put forth its interpretation on what should be done locally versus what should be done in the cloud. And Google, I think, in its long history of offering different AI-backed features, has done a great job. Like its computational photography has long been very impressive. Its magic erasing tools have been very cool. The way that Google Photos gives you the opportunity to edit photos and kind of automatically change how they look in a way that's pleasing to the eye. I've been impressed by that for some time. And so it would be interesting to see how Google puts forth its camera, its camera chops with local on-device processing versus what goes to the cloud.
Well, also all the Google services. I mean, they don't need to do that locally, and they're adding. Is it Genesis or Gemini? Gemini. They also have a Genesis coming soon, I think. Gemini into all of the G Suite stuff. So I guess the question is, could they do that more effectively locally? One of the stories I put in the rundown today, I think I'm robbing from the changelog. We can get to it later, but Google is bragging that it's doubling the calculation speed in Sheets. Now, given all I do in Sheets is our rundown and maybe adding 2 + 2, I don't notice any slowness. For those who use it to do complicated equations, more processing power locally, I guess, would make a difference for other functions too.
I'm curious if that will expand my only experience running up against the limits of Sheets has been there's like a row limit. I think it's like 60,000 or something like that. I'm curious if that'll expand the row limit as well. I have for a couple of projects that involved large data sets. Like I didn't create 60,000 rows of data, but I have tried to open 60,000 plus rows of data and then I had to download Excel.
How good a scraper are you, Paris? Data scraper.
I'm a pretty good scraper. I've taken classes on scraping. I don't use it that often anymore, but I can scrape as I need to.
Do you think that a lot of journalists are trying to use generative AI to go ahead and scrape data and do things with it? Do you think you would use that?
I mean, if it offered an easier way to scrape a large data set rather than me putzing about, writing my own code or putting something complicated into Google Sheets, sure. I think that there are more specific use cases that the industry is currently grappling with is when it comes to, I guess, using a large language model or AI-powered tools to analyze really large data sets and pick out trends or potential like story ideas. I think that requires having somebody who's an expert on how these tools work and figuring out the potential safeguards that are needed, or, kind of guarding against hallucinations, because we know that's an essential part of these tools. Even if we, minimize the risk, it's still there. So I haven't really gotten to that point of the discussion because I'm just one journalist and our newsroom doesn't have that much of a robust data team. But I know that there's teams at the Times. The New York Times, I believe, has an entire team dedicated to using AI for journalism now.
Do you go to IRE? This is very journalistic here.
I wanted to go. IRE is the Investigative Reporters and Editors Conference, which just had their festival or like conference, I believe, this last weekend. I was just thinking this week how
you should. It's your peeps. It's journalists meet geeks, which is why in the show they do stuff that people watching this show would actually find interesting, as opposed to like us.
I mean, they do tune in here as well. Let's hope. Hey, everybody out there. So now that we've talked about that, we talked about covering that event live in August. So be on the lookout for an announcement about that. It'll be great to see what's going on. Yes, Paris.
I'm curious what you guys think about these events in general. My position on them has always been, I think they're just a bit superfluous. I don't really understand why we need, I guess the reason why these events exist is because they want to create press around their new products and whatnot. But I think it's just, I don't know, a little ridiculous. It could have all been an email. Have there been instances where these events you feel are like truly helpful or interesting, or is it more of just a way to get a lot of product news and a point of discussion that interests you about this?
It's that point of discussion. I think it is. I agree. It's a little navel gazing of those of us who are covering it, because often when people ask the question that you just asked, the thing that I almost always hear someone say is, well, it's really interesting to hear how a company is going to put forth their ideas for new products. And in that sense, it is navel gazing. It is us saying like, oh yeah, we want to see the story that they tell, and then tell everyone the story that they were telling us through our eyes and through our filter. So yeah, there is an aspect of it that's just kind of coverage, but oftentimes this is more than like in an email or on a page. You can put forth plenty of text and everything that explains, but there are always like demos and things that otherwise you might not see, that I think make the quote unquote live event, or in this case, pre-recorded event, a little bit more engaging and a little bit more interesting. But yeah, there's a part of me that agrees with you, and it makes me wonder if there's some level of arguably contempt that these folks have for their user base, who are like, well, they're not going to go to our website and read this page, so we better just talk to them for the next hour and tell them what we're making. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Paris, I think when I put this in the rundown, I wondered about that. And I wonder whether Google is trying to, by pushing it up and apparently not doing the leaks, we'll see whether they leak everything before August 13, maybe they're trying to recapture some surprise or some newness to it, which means they better have something honest to God new. So we'll see. And I wouldn't mind if there were new things and surprises. But the other thing I think is it plays right into geek journalism. Mm-hmm. Right? People are there.
It harkens back to the videos. Like early 2000s kind of era of journalism, where tech is all that is good and new in the world. Mm-hmm. I'm curious, my initial thought in this, maybe it's because I'm a conspiracy theorist, maybe it's also because I'm poisoned by working in the news industry, is that it seems like this is probably an event released as a surprise conveniently a month before Apple typically has its big phone event, so that they can one-up them with their version of whatever Apple is going to be putting out.
Hi, this is Benito.
I think that always plays into it.
So
Hi, Benito.
I'm feeling that it's also a lot of these events have been for the shareholders and not really for the people. Like a lot of the AI ones especially.
Yeah, that's fair too. And we tend to pay attention to what the numbers are looking like as far as their stock goes when these announcements take place. And it does have a huge impact in many cases on the bottom line. I think you're right. I do think that it maybe has shifted, Benito, from an opportunity to get to tell the story that they want about the products that they're coming out with to a signaling to the shareholders that's like, don't worry, we're on it. You know, whatever the latest trend is, we're on it. We're making that too. And it, you know, you don't have to worry about that. I guess I'm curious though, when it comes to Google and hardware, I've heard Leo talk about how he is less than enamored of the of the Google hardware in general, and not as excited about it as he once was, because it feels like it's maybe, you know, a fourth, fifth tier concern for the company. Do you, Jeff, feel like it still gets enough attention?
Terribly bitter.
Okay.
About the Chromebooks. I had
Jeff is in a toxic
Go.
relationship with his Chromebook.
I am. So this is recent stuff. So I had a Pixelbook Go, which I liked. It was small. The mic wouldn't work finally. The touchscreen didn't work. I said, okay, that's it. I got to get another machine. And I finally got the Acer Spin 714. It didn't work. It didn't work well. So I finally just bought, you won't believe this, I think it's a 2-year-old model, the Samsung, because I knew it would at least be more reliable, and it works. But then when I use the Pixelbook, the keyboard is just wonderful. It's just sweet. I loved it. They were really good at making that hardware. Mm-hmm. And I think the phones that they make, I've bought nothing but Pixels, you know, since the beginning. I think so I can't compare. Which, by the way, is one thing about when you see things like comparative ratings of dentists or ratings of plumbers. How many plumbers do people have experience with?
That's a good point.
Right?
Are they,
how many dentists?
Have you gone to 5 different dentists and you're going, ooh, this one really knows how to lay down a crown?
Yeah, right. I have no teeth left, but I know a lot about dentists, right? So comparing phones even and hardware is odd for most people because we tend to get into a rut and we tend to use it. And I'm definitely in a Pixel rut. Samsung Cruff always scared me off. Mm-hmm. So I never had one, and people love Samsungs. And, you know, I used to have iPhones way back in the day when they were steam powered. Yeah, I think Google is good at hardware, but Leo's also just jaded now about them, I think.
Yeah.
What about Google's products and I guess the Chromebook and Pixel have you continuing to come back to it? What about it has made you a loyal customer, Jeff?
People talk about being locked into the Apple ecosystem. I am locked into the Google ecosystem, even though I complain about being the premium customer and they screw me all the time. It's hard for me to imagine switching. So I'm talking to you right now through a Mac. This Mac was bought by Jammer B about what Jammer B about 35 years ago.
He says 12 or 13.
Yeah, I've used it. That's how old it is, and it still works and it's fine. And I barely upgrade it and do anything. Little stuff like when I'm doing the rundown on my Chromebook, I can save 5 things in a row. So I can save the headline and I can save the link for 2.5 stories. And I do that for all kinds of things. I can't do that on the Apple. The Apple is not integrated with Google. I just saw a document. I said, I opened that up on the Apple. I want to save that to Drive. Oh, no, that's a pain. I really can't do that. So that's what keeps me coming back.
It's locked in, yeah.
Yeah, I'm locked in.
Jeff, referring to your Mac as the Apple is the quaintest thing you've ever done on this show. That old Apple over there.
I was going to let it go. And yeah, I love that I'm glad you brought it up.
It's really cute.
Yes, it was very sweet. Wow.
Yeah. It was a grandpa moment, wasn't it?
A little bit.
But that's why we love you.
Okay,
I'm outnumbered by the young'uns today. Usually I got Leo on my side. He's not here.
Grandpa, you were in Congress, weren't you?
I wasn't in Congress. I was in the California version.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you, not recently, at least in Congress.
I was in Congress a few months ago.
Yes. So this is a story we are covering during the show. Give us a little lead in before we go into the video, though, to kind of explain it for people who are outside of California and who are outside of, concern about the future of journalism.
It's a legit Google story, because what's happening is that the lobbyists for the newspaper industry are whining and kicking their feet and writing laws, bills, to try to get Google and Meta particularly to pay them a bunch of money, arguing that they stole the newspaper's money as if God gave those newspapers the revenue in the first place. And there's a federal bill called the JCPA that has not gotten off the dime, but there are state versions. And there was one in Illinois that almost passed, and I testified against it and maybe had some small role in killing it. Instead, they passed 2 other bills to benefit news. And in California, there's been a version of it called the CJPA, the California Journalism Preservation Act. And it's awful in my view, and I've written a lot about it. We've talked about it on the show. And I wrote a 41-page paper that was commissioned by the California Chamber of Commerce about the bill, its weaknesses, the history of copyright, the history of media consolidation in California, what the hedge funds have done to news in the state, and offering a whole bunch of alternatives that I thought were better. So 2 weeks ago, the chamber brought me out, and I was knocking on doors in the legislature, which is a really weird but democratic exercise, and talked to all the legislative aides for the Judiciary Committee. And then yesterday was the committee hearing, and I was invited to testify, and I came back out to testify. Now, it'll look like my side lost because the bill, the CJPA, went out of committee with 9-2 vote, I think it was. But the author of the bill, Buffy Wicks, from the very beginning was very open to changing it. Google has made a counterproposal. There was a lot of talk about that counterproposal. So my hope is that there'll be collaboration going forward and that it was worth the trip, but we shall see. But the other thing is I had to buy a white shirt and a tie.
So roll that beautiful bean footage.
Just a little bit.
I'm Jeff Jarvis. I'm the Tao Professor for Journalism Innovation at the City University of New York, Emeritus. In a paper commissioned by the California Chamber, I analyze AB 886 and examine the long history of newspapers lobbying since the advent of radio to extend copyright and diminish fair use for their exclusive benefit. I oppose AB 886 first because it will benefit the hedge funds that control 18 of the state's top 25 newspapers and are primarily responsible for destroying newspapers. I fear that national media conglomerates, as well as extremist and propaganda media, may benefit as well. The bill is likely unconstitutional, in my opinion, in that a government-imposed fee on accessing content is a tax on reading. And the retaliation clause compels speech, which is not free speech. I was gratified to read your comments, Chair Umberg, in the LA Times, saying, and I'll quote, "We could screw up so that we make it so expensive that the platforms don't carry journalism content. That would be catastrophic." Amen.
You can end it now. That's fine.
That was I got my
good ending. Really impressively quick speech, I will say, just off the bat. You only had 3 minutes, and you were getting the words in there.
I did it in 2:45.
Very impressive.
400 words.
Wow.
So
the guy next to me is the Google head of news partnerships, a really nice guy named Jaffer. And when they were working on his talk, the person that I talked to try to get background on for my talk inside Google said, "Well, his is in 10 minutes." No, and so I'm glad I went first.
And you've talked before about how sometimes you felt like it was pomp and circumstance, but it sounds like this one really, as you said, even though it may have looked like your side lost, afterward there seemed to be pretty open discussion about how things were changing. How often do you find yourself, in these legislative bodies?
That's the really weird thing, Mikah. I never did this policy stuff before. I was on a thing some years ago, right before the pandemic, about policy, and I kind of dreaded it because I just thought I'd be surrounded by wonks and there was no hope of any impact. And I did it, and I found it interesting. It was useful. Became part of my next book. And then suddenly, in the last few months, I've been doing this stuff. I went to the Senate Judiciary Subcommittee in Washington to testify about AI and journalism. I testified before the Illinois Senate. I went knocking on doors in the California Senate, and then went to testify there. I don't know that I'm very good at it because I can be a jerk, and you've got to be nice to people. And I don't really understand. I get dogmatic, I think, saying, why are you doing this stupid bill? You should know better, right? But that's not how it happens. You trade this for that. You do this, and then you do that. There's other legislation in California right now that I really hate about AI that would make the model makers for AI sign a statement asserting under penalty of criminal perjury that their models are safe, which is an impossibility. It's naive. It's stupid. So when you see legislation like that, you want to tear your hair out and say, God, they're so stupid. I can't. But in the end, it was pretty amazing. I got to say, it's democracy at work. And what I saw happening was the legislators and the lobbyists and people who had interest in these cases buttonholing each other in the hall, but trying to get somewhere. Mm-hmm. And, if we don't support that process in democracy, then, we've given up on everything. And where something actually happens, unlike the U.S. House of Representatives, then I think it's actually somewhat gratifying to see. I don't want to get in the habit of it, and I'm not going to be very good at it, but it was a really interesting process.
Nice. I think it's time. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. Let us take a quick break, and we will come back.
If Paris doesn't have something weird, I've got something fun.
Okay, excellent.
We'll see. This is a fun off here. We'll see. More fun.
Fun off. All right. Well, we'll get to the fun off momentarily, but I do want to tell you about Collide, which is bringing you this episode of This Week in Google. I know you've heard us talk about Collide before, but did you know that Collide was recently acquired by 1Password? It's pretty big news because these two companies are leading the industry in creating security solutions that put users first. For more than a year, Collide Device Trust has helped companies with Okta ensure that only known and secure devices can access their data. And that's what they're still doing. They're just now doing it as part of 1Password. So if you've got Okta and you've been meaning to check out Collide, now is a great time. Collide comes with a library of pre-built device posture checks, and you can write your own custom checks for just about anything you can think of. Plus, you can use Collide on devices without MDM, like your Linux fleet, contractor devices, and every BYOD phone and laptop in your company. Now that Collide is part of 1Password, it's only going to get better. So check it out at collide.com/twig to learn more and watch the demo today. That's KOLIDE.com/twig. And we thank Collide for sponsoring this week's episode of This Week in Google. All right. Back from the break, and it's time for our fun off. Jeff, what have you got?
No, Paris.
Oh, Paris. Yeah, Paris gets to go first.
Do I have? Okay, let's see. Mine isn't that fun, but I know that's a really resoundingly successful way to advertise this.
It's like you're in the presidential debate. You're trying to sandbag your performance here. Yeah.
This is from This Week in Tunnels, our reoccurring segment that's taken a brief break.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Which is the world's largest road and rail tunnel is being built under the Baltic Sea. I think that's pretty cool.
Better than a bridge, I'll say that.
It is. It's going to link Denmark and Germany.
How is a tunnel that goes underwater better than a bridge? Can you tell me that?
Well, because
then
actually
Jeff
in the
doesn't
rock.
get scared.
Oh, it's going to be all the way down in the rock.
Yeah. I mean, granted, one could imagine.
Is that how tunnels work? I mean,
generally, except the BART.
I thought
that
the
BART is laid on the bottom of the water.
Right. I thought there were some that are actually where there's just gallons and gallons of water around you, but
Yes.
This one is going to be tunneled so deep underground. So
I think so. I don't know. Maybe
earthquake.
I'm wrong. How long is the tunnel going to be? Say Paris.
That's a great question. Let's
It's probably
see.
in kilometers,
the tunnel
too,
will be 18 kilometers, 11.1 miles long.
Wow.
It's going to be it's Europe's largest infrastructure project with a construction budget over 7 billion euros. By way of comparison, the 50-kilometer, 31-mile Channel Tunnel linking England and France, which was completed in 1993, cost the equivalent of 12 billion.
I hope it's been updated since 1993.
Probably. Have you guys ever taken the tunnel?
Yeah.
I've never been out of the country. The one comparison I was going to make was when you go to Coit Tower in San Francisco, the way that you get to the top is via an elevator. And they love to tell you as you're in the elevator and cannot leave the elevator, this thing's old, more than 80 years old. And so you're just sitting in this and it's like making all these rickety sounds.
And this is an earthquake-prone city that was destroyed in 1906.
Exactly.
All right, Jeff, give me your fun stuff.
All right, alrighty. Here, I'm cheating because it's already in the rundown, but I put it there.
They do call it an immersed tunnel, by the way, just so we immersed. So does that not mean in water?
So probably not in the rocks. Oh well, okay. But yeah, well, same with the BART. The BART is immersed, and it's in earthquake. It's resting there in the bottom of the water. You know, it's
scary. So it is the largest immersed tunnel because the channel and other things are through the rocks. I'm assuming we're describing immersed the correct way. That's kind of crazy. For some reason, I had never really thought about the logistics of the tunnels that I'm in. I'd always assumed I was kind of surrounded by water, even though that doesn't make any sense.
Is it? I presume it's a rail tunnel, Paris.
A lot of great questions.
But
we've had quite a few for you, haven't we?
With a sequel to the tunnel stuff.
Passenger trains and cars.
Cars can take it. Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm. But it might be like a car train sort of situation, like the channel, where you can put your car on a train to go through the tunnel. It's a combined road and rail tunnel.
Whoa,
sorry.
That's going to be big.
2 double-lane motorways separated by a service passageway and 2 electrified rail tracks.
I want to mention, as I was scrolling through, I saw the word elephant, and I had to know what that was about. Can you also take elephants through it? No, they're using that as a comparison. Each section will be 217 meters long, roughly half the length of the world's largest container ship, which we've all seen, so obviously that makes sense to use as a comparison. 42 meters wide and 9 meters tall, weighing in at 73,000 metric tons each. They'll be as heavy as more than 13,000 elephants.
How many llamas?
Hold on, I'll get on that while Jeff, you tell us about your fun piece.
All right, we've had a lot of fun with Sora, watching Sora stuff. We saw some ridiculous stuff, I think, just last week where the memes were being remade by Sora. Well, Toys R Us, which is a zombie brand that went bankrupt and that got taken over by private equity, they're trying to relaunch the brand, and they use Sora to make a origin story commercial. So I presume it's a commercial. This won't get us taken down. The story is on line 68. The video was on line 69. Sound?
Bike shop owner Charles Lazarus.
This is a really weird one. This should have been my pick.
That would go on to change toy stores forever.
The giraffe moved.
The giraffe is coming alive.
We're seeing a fake boy.
And his fake boy face is a different fake boy's face in every shot of this video.
Oh.
It's just like, it's kind of different if you compare them all together.
Wow. Oh, you're right. Yeah. It's kind of buck-toothed and freckled.
It looks like one of those YouTube videos that kids watch that makes no sense.
Yeah.
A child is walking in just a field of toys.
Which is ironic here because they closed all the stores, so a child can't do that anymore. Only in their imagination or in AI. Oh, you're right. Now the kid has no freckles.
This was the dream of Charles Lazarus. May all of your dreams come true too.
Oh.
So I think we see there, though, the real use at the beginning of Sora. It's going and evidently Toys R Us is too cheap. They're not actually going to air this. They're gonna use schmucks like us who air it for free and get attention that way. But I think you're going to see a lot of marketing use of this.
One thing about this real quick is that it's like using AI to tell us a piece of nostalgia that kids nowadays could never have. Like the kids can't do this because they can't go to Toys R Us. They don't exist anymore.
Right.
So like, what's this commercial for?
What is does Toys R Us have stores?
It used to.
But it went bankrupt and they all closed.
Okay,
and so
it's got some stores, says the Toys R Us website.
They opened a few, I think.
Are there some back?
It's like all these other Toys R Us as a kid. The problem was there was also Kids R Us, and that was where you got clothes. And I can remember as a kid, you'd be walking towards both of them, and you're hoping you're going to Toys R Us, and then Mom would take us to Kids R Us.
Time for socks, Mikah. You need some socks.
Okay, what did you think of this video, though? Because I thought it was like bad. I looked at this and I was like, this is what AI can do? It was weirdly choppy. I didn't really think the plot of it made sense. The boy's face changed all the time. I thought the music and audio sounded weird.
That means you know that they had to stitch together God knows how many prompts.
It also tells you they didn't have any money for an actual video.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's all these zombie brands. I mean, Bell and Howell. Is anybody, Jammer B, are you old enough to remember when Bell and Howell made real cameras?
Oh, yeah. And projectors.
Is he there? But
he
now
said yes,
it makes
and
all
projectors
these...
too.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's how old we are. Wait. Was Jammer B in the AV club in school?
Of course.
He had to have been.
Yes, I was.
He says yes.
Of course he was. So you'd get the projector out.
I'm sorry to interrupt this, but also this was created by a PR agency for Toys R Us that I had looked up before the show, and they basically, their whole advertising pitch is, do you not have a marketing budget? We'll do stuff for cheap for you. But they've also admitted that it's not entirely generated by AI. This is from a Verge article on this. Native Foreign, the creative agency that produced the footage, had about a dozen people working on the video and applied, quote, corrective VFX on top, according to director Nick Cleverov. Sora, quote, got us about 80 to 85% of the way there, he wrote on Twitter. I mean, I feel like that makes it even worse. I was like, okay, this sucks, but at least it's all generated by AI. But it sucks, and it was like they had 10 to 12 people working on this.
Yeah. That may be why, though, they try to avoid having illustrators and filmmakers get mad at them. When I was in Sacramento, right across the street from the state capitol, there was a new coffee shop in there. And the person who lives in Sacramento told me that it used to be the coffee shop where if you had to have your conversation outside the Capitol, you go across the street and this is where you'd go. And it closed, and there's a new one opening, and it's fully robotic. Which, when you have
those have been around for years, though.
But what's interesting is when you have all kinds of labor lobbyists all around their offices, all around the state capitol, you can imagine there'll be daily picketing there by labor unions saying, how do you do this? Scabby the Rat is going to be outside pretty soon. Bingo. Then I went to SFO to fly back home, and there was a robotic coffee-like beverage-making robot there. So this is going to piss off labor.
Indeed. I mean, you could go get your coffee and then take a ride no Waymo to your, I don't know, flight, I guess.
But hoping there's a pilot on it.
Hopefully.
By the way, it has taken me this long to figure it out. It would be 429,000 llamas.
I wonder what you were concentrating on. For those of you off video,
how
Mikah was deep in thought, deep in calculation.
How did you do that?
So I figured out that the weight of one elephant is between 4,400 to 13,000 pounds. So I just went with 10,000 pounds, the weight of an elephant. And then the weight of one llama is about 300 pounds. So you start by figuring out that it takes 33 llamas to make up the weight of one elephant. So that's
impressive.
Yeah. So you do
impressive.
And then once you have that number, then you know that you just need to multiply that times the 13,000 elephants that were there. And 13,000 times 33 is 429,000. So that's how many elephants.
This is
llamas.
the exact situation that the education system in America prepares you for. Is a problem where you have to figure out.
I'm not going to use long division.
Yeah.
I have legitimately reached out to my high school math teacher from time to time when something comes up in my life that involves me. Yeah. And she's always so pleased about it. I just last year for Christmas, I was hanging stockings, and I needed to do some algebra to figure out what the proper distance was to hang them all along the fireplace at equal distances for each of them. And so I took a snapshot quickly of my little sketched out formula that I did and or equation that I did. And she was like, "Oh, that's so wonderful."
Aww.
So you're just going to ask ChatGPT and she's out of a job.
Oh, too soon.
Yeah.
So let us continue on. I think this time I'd like to talk about Amazon because Amazon, of course, long ago now has introduced the Amazon Echo. And at the time, it was this kind of tower-like device that had no screen. And so because it had no screen, the company had to make a voice assistant that in as many cases as possible could not punt to saying, let me just show you what you're asking. Let me just show you what I found on the web. I liked that it had this barrier that made them have to be clever about how they solved the problems that you were asking about. Over time, Echoes have added screens and they've added, new features for the smart home. But one thing has relatively stayed the same, which is ALEXA. That is how I choose to talk about Amazon's virtual assistant. And ALEXA it's for timers and for playing music and for occasionally asking some math questions, although I don't know if I could get it to figure out the one we just did. And Amazon is talking about introducing a large language model powered, essentially, voice assistant version of ALEXA that is going to cost $5 to $10 monthly. This is according to Reuters, who quotes people familiar, who cites people familiar with the matter. First and foremost, I wanted to hear about both of your experiences with voice assistants. It doesn't have to be Amazon. It could be any of them. Do you use them regularly? Do you use them at all? What do you use them for? Has your use changed over time? Lots of questions to ask. But I want to hear about that before we get into, would you pay for Amazon's maybe better option?
I use voice assistants at a very limited capacity. I will sometimes use Siri if I'm holding a bunch of things. If I'm holding coffee and something in my other hand and I have headphones and I need to call someone, that will be the extent of it. I will occasionally use the voice assistant who must not be named lest she wake up, for all podcast listeners. I would use her for basically asking the weather. That's about it.
You said her.
Because I have one it. I'm trying to think of a way to refer to it without saying the name of it.
Yeah.
So I'm using a pronoun. But I would often ask, what's the weather? That's basically my main use because it's in my bedroom. And then, or I will use it to play music, but it's connected to Spotify. I'm not really a big voice assistant. I guess the only other use I've used, which I've talked about in the show before, is for a while during the pandemic, I got really into, there was this one Amazon Echo skill that you could say Echo, play cat noises or make cat noises. And it was a little skill that would make cat meows and it would make my cat go crazy, which I thought was quite cute. But other than that, not really. What about you, Jeff?
Not at all. I had, of course, a Google one, and it was the world's most ridiculously overdone clock sitting on my desk. I never asked it anything. When I tried to ask it, it didn't work very well. I tried to get my wife excited. Wouldn't you want one of these? Because I have like 5 of them because you got them for free with things, right? You keep that out of here, was her response. I had it, I think, in our kitchen for about 2 days before my wife and daughter both said, stop with that and get it out of here. When we have a discussion at dinner and we're not sure about something, I will go to my phone and I will say, how old is Mikah Sargent? And it will tell me. But otherwise, where I use voice is where it makes sense. It's in the car. Paris doesn't drive.
Yeah.
But, and you look pretty ridiculous in the subway saying something out loud to your phone. That wouldn't stop some people. And there it's it's utilitarian. It's navigate me here, that kind of stuff. And it's of limited utility, I would say. So I don't think voice is there. And I can't imagine paying for Alexa is as funny as every time I hit the Forbes paywall, I laugh because who would pay for this? Same thing.
I've been hurt too many times by the virtual assistants, and so I avoid using them in as many ways as possible. I will set my own timers.
They broke your heart? What did they do, Mikah?
Yeah, they just disappointed me. And every time I used them, every time something would be slightly off. And so I just don't trust them to do the things that I need them to do, that I actually want them to do. So I just do it all myself, which is something I talked to my therapist about, not asking for help. But seriously, like
soon too, Mikah, you can use an LLM therapist and you put that person out of business too.
Oh, boy.
No.
We're just going to get rid of everybody in your life and make sure you're surrounded by AI.
I'm not worried about what. Let me be clear before you scream moral panic at me. I worry about people using it to do something like that when it's not intended to be used for that. And if it, I mean, we just had the glue spaghetti thing, right? Or was it glue pizza? I can't remember.
Pizza.
Glue pizza.
Glue pizza. Yeah. And then, you're asking it for advice on how to win somebody over. And it doesn't have the context of like, oh, actually you're being a creepazoid who should be taking hints that person is not interested in what you're putting forward. But instead it's like, oh yes, smother them in gifts and do this and do that. And then you're just making it worse. Anyway. But now I want to ask you, because for me, again, I've been hurt too many times. I don't think that there's any convincing me that I should spend more money outside of my Amazon Prime subscription I'm already paying in the first place to make this assistant any more capable. But is there a chance for either of you that it would be of interest to you to have an LLM-backed Amazon voice assistant?
No.
I mean, the person who should be answering this is unfortunately not here. Leo is the big LLM user of the pod, and he does seem to like to talk to them. I'm not sure. I don't.
Which is a funny thing to imagine.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going today?
He's said before that those are the sort of like conversations he has. I'm like, oh, is there anything substantive? He's like, it's got to go back and forth. I don't really get it, but I'm sure.
Hey, he's a podcast host. When he's not talking to us, he's got to talk to somebody.
He's got to talk to someone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said though that he would not be interested in this either. Specifically from Amazon. So I don't know if something like that. I will say, there is a version of this that I have used. I actually recommended to him. And Paris, you may have come across this. It's an app called Autobiography. And the app is, it's my understanding that they're using Claude in the background from Anthropic. But what it does is it starts by just posing a question to you. So the first question that I got from the app, it asked me, what is an exciting adventure that you've gone on in your life? And you don't type to it, you just talk to it. And so I told this semi-long story about an adventure that I went on that I really enjoyed, where I traveled to the Badlands and to Mount Rushmore and to all of these different places. And it on device transcribed what I said, and then in the background sent that off to Claude. And then what it does is it asks you a follow-up question about it to help even pull more out of you. And so then I answered the follow-up question, and then it drilled in on something that I was talking about, and it asked me like, oh, so tell me more about that person. And so then I start talking about the person, and then it's just taking me on this journey. And suddenly that's where I got into a place where I'm like, wow, I am really spilling my whole heart out to this system. But it was very cool at the same time, because I'm not a person, I was diagnosed with ADHD and way back in college, and I do not like journaling because I'm basically just journaling all the time in my brain. So to have to like be as slow as it takes to write that all out does not work for me. And so, but I've always been a person who wished that I could journal. And this app, Autobiographer, was something that actually was able to pull that out of me. And what's cool too is that it has little things that it'll ask you about specific people. And so at one point it asks, here, let me get the link, because I don't think that's it.
There are two Autobiographer AIs, and I got duped by the one that just came up on the screen.
Oh no.
It's autobiographer.com.
And let me here, yeah, let's see, because Autobiography Studio Inc. is the name, I guess, of the company. I will just put that on line 35 is the link to the app. Of course, that's in the App Store, so sorry about that. But what did you say the website was? Yeah, autobiographer.com. Yep, that's where you can go. So is...
How have the outputs been? Have you read over what it's generated?
Because it actually makes you, at the end of the conversation, it asks you, this is the summary that I got from this. Is this accurate to you? And you can go in and choose different pieces. And I have been very impressed with what it had to say in shorter words than it takes me to say things. And so one example was it sort of took the conversation that I had about this journey that I went on and gave it a title of A Road to Self-Discovery, because there was something that I did learn on that road trip, and that's what I got to in the end. And you can go back and see the individual notes, and you can also see the transcript of what you had. Anyway, my point is, I found that to be a delightful use of AI that I wasn't expecting, where it's just taking what you say and figuring out things that it should ask to help kind of pull apart a story about your life or a story about other people. Because the other feature, I know this is becoming kind of an ad for this, but I don't intend for it to be, is that you can name different people in your life that maybe have had an impact on you. And then it will ask you questions about them. And then you can actually send them a little storybook, essentially. And it's like, this is what I feel from you. This is what you mean to me. And I think I would cry enough tears to cover that tunnel we were talking about earlier if someone sent me that. I just think it could be super delightful. So yeah, I liked that use of AI, and it wasn't something that I had thought about. So I thought that was kind of cool. But I don't think Amazon's going to be doing that. I think it's going to be probably trying to tell children's stories and I don't know, taking too long to answer a simple question because now it's got too much smarts behind it. But I don't see myself, well, I lie. I will probably pay for it for a month just so I can talk about it on the shows I do. But that'll be
well, what's interesting, I put a story in the rundown that quotes our friend Ed Zitron from Business Insider, which just quotes everybody, that OpenAI's CTO, Mira Murati, talked about how creativity is a problem to be solved. And so what you're talking about here is an app that attempts to be creative on your behalf, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And she says, well, there may be too many people involved in creativity, and those jobs shouldn't exist. To which Ed said, that's a declaration of war against creative labor, which is a very Ed thing to say. But it's interesting as to how much we are willing to hand off to these things. Lev Manovich is a professor, a leader in digital humanities. He's writing a book that I read right now online. It's online for free if you look for it, about the aesthetics of AI, with a co-author. And the two of them write about, these are tools, they are artist tools, they are creative tools. But how much are you willing, Mikah, in the end, to have it speak for you?
Right.
And, or not. And I think it's going to be a really interesting thing. And then how much, if you sent that to someone else, is it like Cyrano de Bergerac? And Mikah, is this you or is this your machine talking?
Also, are the writing styles across people going to be the same? Right? Like,
exactly. Really, really good point. I argued early on that I thought that generative AI could help with literacy. And two of my executive students who are graduating tomorrow, one who runs a prison journalism project, the other one for First Nations, said, "Whoa there, white man. Do you really want to homogenize the language and viewpoints of everyone into the language of power and white power from those who had the privilege to publish?" And I said, "Oh, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think we have to be a little careful here about the homogenization of humanity."
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. I think I'm going to use that again. Ooh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Huh. So anyway, Amazon, thanks a lot.
Sorry. Yeah, I went off that.
No. I kid. I think that is something to consider, is the fact that, is it all going to then look the same? Because I've had issue with Google has shown this, Apple has shown this in its upcoming Apple Intelligence. We've seen other companies putting forth this idea that it'll generate a response for you. And I hate that idea, because for me, I'm thinking about how I'm not actually talking to a person and I am not interacting with that person, and how, what does that mean? That they didn't have the time for me, that, they didn't have the interest in taking a moment to get back to me. And then there's also the aspect of, goodness gracious, it's all adding a bunch of extra fluff. And so you have people on one end cranking up the wordiness of the AI, and then the person who receives it on the other end is like, I just need a summary of this email. And so, in that effect, it is just AIs talking to AIs, so to speak. And what ends up getting lost in all of that? And what, when is that going to, I imagine, because I have one doctor who does my allergy stuff. I can't think of what they're called. Immunotherapist doctor that's was working with me for allergy shots. Point is, at the very beginning of our conversation, he said, I wanted to let you know that I do use AI. I didn't ask what specifically, but I do use AI to record these calls, to summarize the notes and make sure that I'm hitting all of the points and that I get back to you with this, that, and the other. And I thought, I don't mind, because in the conversation that we're having, this is just about immunotherapy stuff, and everything is very much, do you have this allergy or do you not? That part is happening with real people, and our conversation is limited to like 3 times we're going to talk to each other. But can you imagine a doctor who needs to regularly have conversations with their client or their patient? It seems more like client these days, but anyway, about something more serious. And then because
a primary
you've got
care
these,
doctor,
your primary care physician using this and missing something important because the AI doesn't realize, so to speak, that it's important.
Or I've been in a case where I had some weird vascular thing. I went to 4 doctors, and it was blind men and the elephant. They all presumed their specialty and didn't think beyond that in any way. Yeah. And it wasn't until the 4th doctor, was at the end, obviously, who said, "Oh, no, I know what it is." And it was an easy fix, and it was no big deal. But maybe AI could also expand their perspectives.
That is true.
Did you think of this? What about that?
Right.
And it could even be tuned to say, well, you work in this area, so you know that well, but here's other areas you should consider.
No, and you're right. It isn't just that negative side of things. And in fact, it's funny that you bring that up, because I was just having a conversation with someone who talked about how they had gone to multiple specialists and no one was giving them the answer that they were looking for. And I said, you may consider taking a trip to the emergency room because they tend to have internists there whose job it is to look at the bigger picture. And while all of these specialists are going, well, it can't be this because it makes no sense according to my specialty, and the other one's trying to do the same. And yeah, they're talking to each other a little bit, but you're right. You need to, what is the forest for the trees kind of situation. And so if an AI in that way could serve as the internist, that could be something that's good. There was a story recently that I covered on Tech News Weekly, and it looks like there's a similar story in the Wall Street Journal from Christopher Mims about AI and how there's an argument between people who are saying AI doesn't kill jobs and AI does kill jobs, and what freelancers have to say about it. Before we talk about that WSJ piece specifically, I wanted to mention something that was earlier on, and forgive me because I don't have the link, but this sparked that. There are people who are writers. And if you've talked about this story before, let me know. But there are people who are, long been in journalism or some other form of writing, and they, as a side thing, will go and work for kind of a content farm, so to speak. But this could be writing, short little pieces for technical support pages or whatever it happens to be. And so you go and you work for one of these larger companies that kind of connects people to the writer, and it's just an online freelance service. Well, a number of them have come up against something that is a little bit perplexing because they are being accused of using AI for writing the stories that they're writing. And here's the big problem. The tools that the folks at these companies are using to determine if something is AI writing, they often misunderstand what it is trying to say. So, for example, one of these tools, I think it's called, Reality. Hold on. I want to find this exactly because I don't want to get this wrong. It was just a couple of weeks ago on Tech News Weekly, and it is, here we go. It was a Gizmodo piece, and one of the companies is called Originality.ai. And basically, you take a body of work, you pop it into Originality AI, and it comes back with a percentage, and it'll say 70% human, 30% AI. And what it's saying is those are confidence levels. I'm 70% sure that this was written by a human. I'm 30% sure that it was written by an AI, not that it's 70% written by human and 30% written by AI. They're misunderstanding that in many cases. And then people are getting fired from their freelancing gigs that they've worked at for years and not being able to say, hey, listen, I'm not using AI to write these pieces. And so the interesting twist that's involved with that, by the way, this is Thomas Germain on Gizmodo, is that we've heard about AI taking the jobs in terms of writing the piece in the first place. But this is AI being used to detect AI for actual human written pieces that is then causing them to lose their jobs. So there are some aspects of this that aren't just that kind of base level moral panic aspect of AI's coming for all of our jobs. Sometimes it's, again, the human involvement there was that issue because they're misunderstanding what these tools are trying to tell them. But who added the piece from Christopher Mims for Wall Street Journal?
Did I?
That must have been me.
Oh, I think it was you.
Tell us about it.
Let me find it here. So this was a really interesting piece looking at kind of an age-old debate. Like the headline is AI doesn't kill jobs. Tell that to freelancers. And it specifically kind of goes into a lot of examples of data backing up what freelancers have been saying for months. One of the first examples in here follows Jennifer Kelly, a freelance copywriter in New England. She says she's spent like decades writing about a very specific topic. Like she specifically writes for financial advisors who need copywriting about like wealth management. She says in the story, not long after OpenAI's ChatGPT made its debut, clients stopped calling. New clients failed to replace them. Her income dried up almost completely. When she asked, the clients she lost insisted they weren't using AI. But then, months later, some came back to her with an unusual request. The copy they'd been using AI to generate, they sheepishly admitted, wasn't very good. And could she make it better? It's not a fix, she says, of the empty-headed generic pallabum that AI excels at writing. You redo it. I think it's a really interesting story because it goes into an aspect of this transformation that I feel like hasn't been explored deeply. Is, yes, copywriters and freelancers and a wide class of kind of creatives out in the world are experiencing impacts to their, livelihoods because of AI. But yet also the people who are using those AI tools and LLMs are realizing, well, yeah, maybe they can't give a really compelling pitch to wealth management clients or write about a very specific part of like thermodynamics. Maybe we actually need a human to proofread these AI things. So it was an interesting twist, I feel like, to the AI labor debate that I hadn't seen represented before, but intuitively feels very correct to me.
One of the tropes I'm hearing in the journalism world, I heard it again yesterday, is AI won't replace you as a journalist. The journalist who knows how to use AI will replace you. I don't know how true that is, but it's a trope.
Okay, so you feel like connotation for me of trope is that it is an inaccurate common term, but I guess denotation suggests otherwise. So you're not, by naming it as such, you're not saying that there's any inaccuracy or accuracy to it per se.
I'm just saying it's soon to be a cliche.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the thing that I always come down to, because I do a show every week called Clockwise, and it is a show where there are two of us who are the hosts of the show. And so we stay the same, but every week we have two guests on, and everybody brings a topic to the table, and then everybody has an opportunity to answer or respond to the topic. So we might ask, like, what does your Wi-Fi system look like? And then everybody kind of talks about how they've got the routers that they use, blah, blah, blah. But oftentimes, as of late, there's been a lot of conversation around generative AI. And I hear from a lot of people who exist in our space who have, which is completely reasonable, and like I understand it, but they have this very averse reaction to AI and generative AI and feel like it, doesn't deserve any space in what we do. But I feel like that's an unrealistic, even if it's a moral high ground to stand on. I do think that this I'll probably get emails for, but does it not smack of Luddite in a way? Because it does feel a little bit like you're just saying that because it's here and it's being used and it's regularly being used, and it seems like people are continuing to use it and continuing to apply it in so many different ways. And so just the idea that I'm never going to use it and it shouldn't exist, and is it Pandora's box? Is it too late to put the cat back in the muff? What is it? Cat back in the bag.
Go
not
off,
the muffin.
Jeff. Yeah, don't put the cat in the muffin.
Am I sounding like Jeff?
No. This is Jeff's. Jeff says a version of that rant every single week. Continue, Jeff. You're always like, people are being Luddites if they expect AI to go back in the box.
Well, I wouldn't call it Luddism.
Okay.
What I'd say is there's a because it could be, what I'm saying could actually be very bad. What I'm saying is there's no hope for guardrails in AI. Is that what you're talking about, Paris?
A little bit. I mean, I'm thinking a bit of that plus the ye old Gutenberg press analogy. of people being scared of the newfangled technology, but yet it being an inevitability, and that we have to adapt or die?
Well, we have to take control of it. Is I think the key. We have to understand it and take control of it, but also witness its limitations and our limitations with it, and the power it gives some people. And in the end, it's not really the technology; it's us. The problem is always us. It's always the humans. And but it's tied in with an argument that AI is a general machine like the printing press, and there's no way to control how it could be used. And so that's, I don't think people have dealt with that yet and understood that. This whole idea of alignment with AI, and there's super alignment because it's super AI, and it's, but supercalifragilistic alignment, and we're, all those kind of ridiculous inflation of words we have going on. The idea, you can't make the machine moral. The machine is amoral. It has no morals. It makes no judgments. It's incapable of making those judgments. It never will be capable of making those judgments. It can make calculations based on things we give it, but that's it. So the idea, I may be actually arguing, Paris, that the machine is scarier than we know for that reason, because we're stupid and we'll use it badly, and bad people will use it badly, and we can't figure it out. That was true of the printing press, but it's here.
I want to push back a little bit on what Mikah said, because he was saying, you're basically saying that, like, we should just live with it. It's here. We should just, like, get over it and live with it. But, like, what piece of AI writing has actually been any good yet? Like, show me one piece of good AI writing, and then maybe I'll believe you.
Maybe you just don't know.
Yeah, I'm more so and I probably didn't articulate this well enough. Almost certainly didn't. There are people that I greatly respect and who I feel, are very considered in the things that they say, and have genuinely, regularly good takes on things. And there's this, many of them exist in the creator space. And so a lot of their arguments around it do surround the idea that it is a threat to the jobs that they have, or it is a threat to a part of the job that they have. And then there's also the argument that in so many cases, these generative AI systems are being trained using content that somebody might not want to be used, and then sold as a commercial product, right? And I know this conversation comes up a lot, and I don't want to go into right to read and that kind of thing, but that is an aspect of it. And so because they are concerned about the fact that these systems are being used, or rather being trained on information that is public on the internet, but that they feel should not be part of the product, and because they are worried about how it cheapens the creative job market, then any company that has anything to do with artificial intelligence is by partaking in it is a bad, is a bad company doing bad things, and is and should not do that thing. That is, it feels like an extreme take, I guess, is what I'm getting at, that I've been surprised to see the people that I know, fall into. And I like, there's one aspect of what you said, Jeff, that I think rings true for me, at least, which is maybe it's not best to say, I want to have nothing to do with this, and I think that you should have nothing to do with this, but instead to say, let's understand this more and let's take control of it as much as we can. Now, whether or not we actually can, as you're saying, where it could be a scarier thing than it is, sure. But to kind of like turn away from it and try to exist in this quote unquote pure world where you are not using AI and the people who are doing the right thing are not using AI. I guess that's the part that I'm kind of like, is that a realistic?
You raise an interesting specter here, Mikah, because you say back in my day, there are people who would say, "Oh, I don't have a TV." They would try to prove their humanity by that. I don't watch TV, or I only watch PBS, right? And these days, you see the same thing going on with, well, I don't use social media. There's a researcher I read a really fascinating paper from the other day, and she goes so hard trying to not use anything that could violate her privacy. Wrote an interesting piece about trying to visit Disney World by holding on to your privacy, right? So there's that kind of purest virginity that occurs. So I wonder whether they're going to find people who say, well, I don't touch AI. No, but they won't know. They won't know. It's like Benito may have just read a great novel and it could have been written by AI and he won't know it.
Okay, but it wasn't.
They would say
you
that
can
it was
tell.
Written, the people who wrote that book would say it was written by AI to sell their AI. That would absolutely happen.
I know. But will we get there soon?
Well, I think what it really comes down to is craft. Like, people don't like the computer taking away their craft. Like, people worked 20 years to learn how to write or learn how to make music or whatever, or paint. And
but here's the problem.
What people don't like.
So this is this idea of content. It's not that valuable.
It's the worst way ever.
I'm a writer.
Okay.
My writing isn't that writing for writing's sake, content for content's sake. Now, Paris actually reports and she has information and she embarrasses executives, and that has value. But just having a take and writing it, maybe Muradi's right. Maybe there's too many people who think they're creative. I'm trying to play Leo here, by the way, just to be clear.
Oh no, you took the walk, didn't you?
Yeah. That's where he is right now. He's taking another walk with an AI accelerationist. I want to
please,
switch
Paris.
gears a tiny bit, but it's same topic. There was a story that caught my eye this week that's somewhere in the rundown, which is record labels sue 2 startups for training AI models on their songs. And it's 2 startups we've mentioned on this podcast quite a lot, Suno and Udio. AI, both of the startups that we use to make little funny songs on this show. The world's biggest record labels are suing 2 artificial intelligence startups, writes Bloomberg's Ashley Carmen and Rachel Metz, taking an aggressive stance to protect their intellectual property against the technology that makes it easy for people to generate music based on existing songs. These record labels are specifically asking for damages of up to $150K per work infringed. And they're saying that basically these companies have scraped their artists' work and are producing audio based on it, which I think is kind of a fair point. I mean, the companies right now have been kind of closed-lipped on what their models were trained on, but in past interviews, they've said, we tried to cast our net as wide as possible so that we can represent all different traditions of music in our model. But I'm curious what you guys think of this. Do you think that AI models have a right to scrape all music?
A right to hear.
Do they have a right to hear, Jeff?
Yeah, they do, just like anybody. I mean, all of these fights over musical plagiarism, right? Is that 4-note sequence unique? Leave me a little bit cold. I understand the artist's positions. I understand if somebody's plain out copied, but sampling is now part of the culture.
You have to license samples.
It always has been, but it really is now. And so to outlaw that causes a problem. Tribute bands, genres start because somebody does something, right? And the worst acquisition has been white culture versus black musical culture. Elvis Presley.
But I mean, if we go into the specifics of this lawsuit, the RIAA, which is I think one of the plaintiffs suing, has claimed that authentic producer tags, which I had to Google, it's like a short sound that's usually at the beginning of a song that identifies the song's producer. The producer tags have been appearing on some of the music coming out of Suno and Udio. And I mean, I think as we've all noticed, they go on to say, like, people who use the services have generated sounds that sound very similar to artist-made songs, like The Temptations' My Girl, or Green Day's American Idiot, or Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas. I mean, part of the appeal of these services is that you can kind of create look-alike songs, or hear-alike, however you want to phrase it.
The question is acquisition. If you scraped music without paying for it, that's a different question, right? Then you stole it in essence in terms of the ability to listen to it. But let's just say that you bought it, you have your Spotify, you have whatever, and let's say you did it before the terms of service change. In theory, does any musician have the right to listen to Spotify and be inspired by it to make something transformative? And should the machine have that exact same right? So you're right, Mikah. I know you're mocking it, but it is the right to listen. Do you have the right to be inspired? The question in fair use is it transformative? Now, there we can debate that. Is it transformative enough? Is it too much like Lady Gaga? Or is it inspired by Lady Gaga? That's a hard judgment, and that's why courts have ridiculously long cases around things like Ed Sheeran's last case.
Well, there's two things about this. First of all, like in the background, the RIAA, they're trying to make their own AI models so they can sell their own models that imitate their artists. That's something they're actively trying to do right now. Yeah. So that they can make like the Lady Gaga model. And then that's why they're suing these guys. Well, that's one of the things. The other thing is I want this whole thing to end like the end of Reservoir Dogs, please. Like the RIAA and Suno and Udio just all shoot each other. Just please let that happen.
I realized that I've been having so much fun talking with you all that I have completely bypassed my job as a host, and we need to take another break here on the show. So I'm going to do that now before we come back with even more here on Twig, including the calculations required to figure out how many llamas are in a thing. This episode of This Week in Google is brought to you by Bitwarden, the password manager offering a cost-effective solution that can drastically increase your chances of staying safe online. Bitwarden just announced that it officially supports passkeys. Love that, on browser extensions and mobile devices. So that way you can take those passkeys with you anywhere you log in. Passkeys on mobile are available on iOS, and they are in open beta on Android. More info about this will be coming soon, so stay posted on that. World Password Day just recently took place, and Bitwarden surveyed 2,400 individuals from the US, UK, Australia, France, Germany, and Japan to kind of figure out what is the current state of password practices. And it might surprise you, or it might not, if you have been listening to how people manage their passwords. They found 31% of US respondents reuse passwords across sites, and 42% incorporate personal information. So, maybe having your dog's name or your sister-in-law or whatever it happens to be, raising concerns about password strength and security. 58% of respondents continue to use memory as a means of storing passwords, and 34% continue to use pen and paper for password management. And this is at work. Nearly a quarter of respondents view their workplace security habits as, quote, risky, with 45% storing passwords insecurely and 44% using weak credentials. Flip over the keyboard and boom, there's the password, monkey123. These findings indicate areas for improvement in organizational cybersecurity practices. Yeah, I'd say so. Bitwarden empowers enterprises, developers, and also individuals to store and share sensitive data safely. With a transparent, open source approach to password management, Bitwarden makes it easy for users to extend robust security practices to all of their online experiences. So get started with Bitwarden's free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or get started for free across all devices as an individual user at bitwarden.com/twit. That's bitwarden.com/twit. Thank you, Bitwarden, for sponsoring this week's episode of This Week in Google. All right, back from the break, and I wanted.
It's a really weird question, Mikah. I'm not supposed to get into it now. We can do it later. But I'm curious. Did you put in the llama.ttf or was that Leo?
That wasn't me. So that must have been Leo. Yeah,
that's a Leo link.
Okay,
that's funny.
Maybe let's save it for next week. Then Leo can explain it. It's a font with an LLM built in.
What does that mean? You
when
can't
letters
just
can
put
start
that out
to
there.
speak for themselves.
Oh, this is some Lorax BS.
It's a funny
Who will
demo.
speak for the trees? Who will speak for the letter Q? Oh God!
I know.
Some Lorax.
Well, it's really Sesame Street.
BS.
Yeah, but kids raised on Sesame Street will have strange nightmares now.
Oh golly.
Yeah, you should pick a different letter though, Paris, than Q. For your example.
Oh yeah, I guess we should. Why has it been poisoned by this?
I know, because it's such a cool looking letter.
It is a really cool letter.
It's cool looking. No, I shouldn't say that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's hold that one for Leo next week. I'm dying to find out more about it.
Who put in the one with the bad swear word? I will beep pile drive you if you mention.
Oh,
AI
that was
again.
definitely Jeff.
Did Benito write that title?
No, that's the headline.
No, that's an actual headline. I read that.
Guys. And I thought Paris might like it too. So
thought it was cute.
It's funny.
I mean,
it was funny.
I thought it was very funny that friend enemy of the show, Ed Zitron, posted, "If anyone sends me this link again, I will effing kill them."
That's why I put it there. Yeah.
Context: I was not originally scheduled to host Twig today, and so things just
Leo had to go take a walk on the beach.
Yes,
he needed to refresh.
He's got a big red phone on his desk. Whenever a tech billionaire needs to let off some steam, he runs to the beach.
He runs, and
he needed a new session of brainwashing. He was starting to lose.
Yeah, they said,
of the,
quick, we need to get him. We need to get him. So I have not read this piece. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it, or you just want to let it exist in the space? It's
a rant. It's all it is a rant saying, stop putting AI in everything. Stop saying you're going to do this, or I'm going to have a fit on it. And it's just funny how it goes overboard in complaining. That's pretty much.
For instance, we'll go into it a little bit.
Please do.
I will bleep pile drive you if you mention AI again, says the headline. It goes into, the recent innovations in the AI space, most notably those with GPT-4, obviously have far-reaching implications for society, ranging from utopian elimination to drudgery to the dystopian damage to the livelihood of artists in a capitalist society to existential threats to humanity itself. I myself have formal training as a data scientist, says the guy. He's like, I will break your neck if you talk to me about this again. And then here I'll go over some of the headlines or subject lines in this. Point 1, but we will realize untold efficiencies of machine learn. What the bleep did I just say? And it goes on further to describe why he doesn't think, spreading this much hype about AI and LLMs is correct. And then point 2, but we need AI to remain sweet, merciful Jesus, stop talking. Unless you're one of the handful of businesses who know exactly what they're going to use AI for, you do not need AI for anything. Or rather, you do not need to do anything to reap the benefits. And it goes on. But we've already seen extensive gains from... and cut off again. We must prepare for the future of...
My favorite line was this. Number 4, the headline was, but we must prepare for the future of... And then he comes back and says, I'm going to ask ChatGPT how to prepare a garret, and then I'm going to strangle you with it. And you will simply have to pray that I roll the 10% chance that it freaks out and tells me that a garret should consist entirely of paper mache and malice.
The last one is... that's a good one. The last one is, so you're one of those AI PESA, and then cuts it off. With God as my witness, you grotesque simpleton. If you don't personally write machine learning systems and you open your mouth about AI one more time, I'm going to mail you a brick and a piece of paper with a prompt injection telling you to bludgeon yourself in the face with it. Then sit back and wait for you to load it into ChatGPT because you probably can't read unassisted anymore.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good.
So it was just a rant. Somebody he had a good time.
It was just a rant.
He or
it was
she.
A fun rant.
I don't know who it is.
It actually was written by AI. Moving along. So there's a story in here about the rise and fall of the software developer. Is this also about AI?
Yeah, but it's also with data. And,
Okay.
you know, on the show we've quoted, and Jason and I talk about this all the time. We had a AI CEO on who said English is the most important language, and Jensen Huang, programming language, sorry. Jensen Huang at NVIDIA said that universities should stop training computer scientists. And that's provocative, and it is what it is. But the data, you know, rather more than half of U.S. software developers work in the professional and business services sector. Software developer employment peaked in 2019 and has been declining ever since. And there's a scary downward slope chart. That downward slope chart is not employment. It is, I think it's growth. I think that's what it is. U.S. Software Employment Index is what it is. But there's a, you know, the chart is also cut off. It goes from 100% to 111% and then down to 80 something percent, right? So it's not zero, but it's a trend, and you've got a lot of people who are thinking that their careers are made for them if I go into software development. And I think that's still true to a great extent, just like there's still journalists, even though journalist jobs are going away. If you're really good at it and you find the right way to do it, yeah, but it's not the be all and end all anywhere. And I think that STEM taking over schools, and the reason I want to start a program in internet studies and bring the humanities in is because I think that we have to finally undo Sputnik. That's how far back I'm going to go, my children.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Okay. See, you've said something provocative.
Sputnik led to the whole STEM argument. Oh my God, the Ruskies are going to take over this. We have to beat them at it. We have to put in science and math, and the kids have to know. Humanities, that's all fluffy crap. Get rid of that. Arts, who needs that? We'll someday have a machine that can create things. You know, so I think it's the revenge of the liberal arts major, which makes me kind of happy, actually. So I'm not denigrating software developers. I'm not denigrating the need for them. We wouldn't have all these wonderful tools without them. But I think that the rush in every university going overboard for only things that had job potential, and computer science had the most job potential, so everybody had to go to computer science. That's coming home to roost.
Okay. I actually had never thought about that. That serving as the kind of catalyst for the switch to science and technology and math as the thing that we needed to focus on. Especially given how much in the history of humanity, arts and humanities were the forerunner. It was, philosophy and everything involved there. That's kind of,
I can also do a Gutenberg moment here that the press did not cause the scientific revolution, but it enabled it, because now multiple scholars and researchers in multiple places could work off the same text. And that means data, and it enabled comparison against a known set of ground truth, or at least ground argument, put it that way. So yes, the printing press led to a burgeoning of humanities, but it also led to the burgeoning of science. So it's not just Sputnik. You both, all three of you, I'm counting in Benito here, you all do know what Sputnik was?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was like,
Rocket.
I think I do. Now you're making me question that I
It was
don't
the
know.
first satellite.
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah.
I was 3 years old when it went up.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's
And
that
do you
old,
ride
says
in it
Mikah.
or on top of it?
Like Dr. Strangelove.
I was attempting to use artificial intelligence to generate an image of Jeff Jarvis, whom I described as, in this case, because I was trying to get a photo of you dismantling the Sputnik satellite, but it just made a Pixar character, so it didn't really work, unfortunately. Anyway, let's see what else is on the line.
That's Joe Esposito's job you're trying to take over here with AI, and he's not happy about it.
Yeah,
It's not
you're
okay.
right.
Like your therapist is going to be mad at the show because you're not going to fire your therapist because you have AI.
That reminds me actually of something kind of annoying that happened. So I was thinking about Joe Esposito, who uses Photoshop for a lot of the stuff that he does. And when Photoshop is involved, because of Adobe they did a lot of stuff with AI, and then they heard from creatives, and then they kind of they actually I would argue whenever they first launched the generative AI stuff, they did a relatively good job of kind of explaining what it was, how it was going to work, what they were using behind the scenes, and how things were trained. And then there was a period of time where folks were concerned about getting sued because of the potential training data. And Adobe said, look, we'll back you up if you ever have a court case. And then we heard about Adobe potentially training on photos that you create in Photoshop. But then we also heard about how Adobe was working along with several other kind of generative AI groups to introduce AI watermarking, essentially. So there was some sort of bits of information within any photos that were generated that would mark a photo as having used AI. So here's where this is annoying. I didn't know about this. I came across it because of something that happened to me that I'll explain in a moment. But within the film portion of Instagram, the film groups of Instagram. And by film, I don't mean video film, I mean film photographers. There has been this backlash taking place because film photographers will scan their film and then we'll pull it up in Photoshop and make adjustments to it that are necessary to properly process the photo and get the photo that they want out of the film. And then they post it to Instagram. And Instagram, by way of whatever Photoshop is adding to the image, has started to display "made with AI" as a tag. So you know how on Instagram you've got the person's username on any post, you've got the username, and then right below that is the location. It's just kind of a tiny subheading. It'll say "made with AI" right there where the location is, and then the location afterward.
Because they're presuming, Instagram is presuming it?
Or because it has a watermark.
Because, Photoshop is adding some sort of watermark in there. It's not an actual physical, it's a digital watermark.
Right, okay.
And so I'm not trying to make this, this is not me trying to bring attention to this, but I will say that recently got engaged, and I posted.
Mazel.
Thank you. And I posted about having gotten engaged, and I have a friend who's a photographer, and he does the edits that he does on the photos. And I posted these photos on Instagram, and the stupid thing said that they were made with, it said it was generated with AI. So then I had a few people who are observant, kind of confused, like, are you making this up? And I had to convince everyone that my fiance is not my Canadian fiance. No, he's in fact a very real person. So yeah, I was really...
He's a rabbit named Harvey.
Yeah, exactly.
He's very real.
But
to me,
exactly. He's real to me. There's a part of it that I like the idea that people will be made aware of if something is generated with AI, and that could help when it comes to, especially on social media platforms where you can reshare content very easily. I get why they're doing it. I think that the implementation is tricky because here's the thing. Instagram offers a toggle. And so you can turn off the "made with AI" tag. But
what?
But hold on. You can only do it for certain posts. If the post is, according to Instagram's black box of a back end, if the post is featuring something, what do they say, that is something like based in reality or is too realistic or something like that, then it won't let you toggle it off. Well, given that these are real photos of real people, I couldn't turn off the stupid "made with AI" tag on mine. And so I was annoyed by that. And apparently a lot of people in the film community on Instagram are annoyed because they're going, these are real photos. We didn't make these film photos with AI. They're actual photos. We just did some editing in Photoshop, and it's tagging them. So Adobe needs to get its act together, and I think Meta needs to get its act together a little bit and make some corrections to what's going on there in terms of, on Adobe's side, what actually gets that tag, and then on Meta's side, like, what do I need to do? Send a video to Meta saying, no, look, he's real, I promise. I was annoyed by that.
That is so interesting.
But do you think it's really going to matter in 10 years that it was made with AI if it's just a tool like Photoshop?
I think it matters when it comes to, there was a great example of where it didn't really matter, but it showed how it could matter recently. And you probably talked about it on this show, but it was the, what's the place with Anna Wintour, and it's, they do the cool dresses and
Vogue.
No, she hosts the event. The Met Gala.
The Met Gala?
Yeah. And there were a couple of people who weren't there, but I think Rihanna was one of them, and I think it was Katy Perry was the other one. They weren't there, but there were AI generated photos that people put out and said, oh, look at Rihanna in her outfit and look at Katy Perry in her outfit. And then you come to find out later that neither of them were there, but thousands and thousands and thousands of people had shared these photos, commenting on it as if it was real, and, you know, pushing, oh, this is the best dress that how did this not make it to the top of the list of the best dressed people, blah, 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 blah. And that was a harmless example, I think, of a way that could be an issue, because what if you have then the photos that are showing things like, it was the Center for Countering Hate, I think it was, it recently did a study. And there are a couple of these tools that they didn't have the protections in place to stop people from generating photos of what looked like people taking votes and ballots and throwing them into a trash can, or trying to mess with different systems and all sorts of stuff. Maybe you're saying, though, Jeff, maybe you've got an optimistic take there where you're saying in 10 years, people will have the necessary filters in place where they will know that. But I think
what I'm saying is it'll become so ubiquitous that it won't be seen as cheating anymore. It won't be seen as trying to fool people anymore. It's just, of course,
I hope nice not. Job. I hope that, it's still weird in 10 years if a completely fabricated photo of a real event being passed off as real is making the rounds.
I think regardless of the tool, trying to fool someone is bad. Right?
Oh, sorry, Benito, you cut up.
Sorry, regardless of the tool, trying to fool people is bad. So if you're using these AI to fool people, then of course people are gonna hate it. But there's also a problem with that, the idea of tagging things as AI to begin with, because there's always ways around that, and there's always the analog hole, and then there's always also like tools that you've been using in Photoshop, things like auto color or auto light, like that's technically AI. So like, yeah, it's true, you did use AI, but not in the way that a generative AI, but you are using AI, it's true. So so how do you distinguish that?
Right. And then that's a little bit of Jeff's point. Kind of, we already are accepting of certain forms of AI, in the sense that people aren't bothered by someone taking the person who's mooning the camera in the background to try to ruin a shot that you've taken out of the photo. And, I take a photo at the beach of my family, and there's a person in the back trying to do something to make the photo look bad, and I edit them out. I don't have to disclose in the comments as it stands. I've never felt a societal pressure to disclose in the comments, hey, by the way, there was a mooning guy back there with the whitest butt you've ever seen, but I just took him out of it.
I think you should.
maybe
in those specific words, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
incredibly interesting.
Go ahead, Paris.
I just think it's incredibly interesting. I haven't seen that. And I even tried to pull up your Instagram. Maybe it's only showing on mobile, because it wasn't showing on the post on Instagram.
Yeah, I just did the same thing, because we're both so nosy as hell.
Lovely photos, by the way. I could never tell they were fully generated by AI. He looks like a very human man. All of his fingers are totally right.
I know, it's so weird. Yeah, and the photo with the rings, they both. And I thought, now AI's made it. I can convince
during
my mom
Pride Month too. It's really rude.
No, folks, this is jokes. These are jokes. This is a very real person. As far as I can tell, anyway. What if he's an AI plant?
You have something more to talk to your therapist about. You've imagined this person, yes.
My AI therapist.
It's like a reverse Stepford Wives situation.
Yeah, I don't see it on web either. It appears to only be.
I wonder why that is, that it would only be on Instagram mobile from a product rollout perspective, I guess.
Well, Meta doesn't care about web. Come on.
That's true.
No, you're exactly right.
Oh, an Instagram.
Right. Oh, it does. It's the first thing that comes up on my Instagram. I don't know if you can see it's definitely got a tag right there. It says made with AI.
Oh, wow.
And I can click on it and it comes up and it says made with AI. Generative AI may have been used to create or edit content in this post. What is generative AI? Generative AI is a type of computer model that has learned data patterns. People can use it to create something new, like images, videos, or husbands. It doesn't say that last part.
AI stands for actual infatuation.
It's true.
I swear, he's real.
So did you find this out from someone telling you, or did you notice it on your own?
I noticed it immediately, and I thought, what the heck? This is unacceptable. And then I tapped on it, and it was like, do you want to turn this off? And I said, yeah, because it's not true. And then it said, well, too bad, because this photo is too realistic. So because of that, it has to stay on. Like, but it's real because anyway. Let's take a quick break before we come back with the rest of the show. I do want to tell you about Cashfly, who are bringing you this episode of This Week in Google, and frankly, who bring you a lot, actually all of what we do here at Twit, frankly. For more than 20 years, Cashfly has held a track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery, serving more than 5,000 companies in more than 80 countries. At Twit, we have been using Cashfly for more than a decade and love the lag-free video loading, those hyper-fast downloads, and the friction-free site interactions. Cashfly is the only CDN that's built for throughput. Its ultra-low latency video streaming delivers video to more than 1 million concurrent users. Lightning-fast gaming delivers downloads faster, and you get zero lag, glitches, or outages. You know, those gamers, they're not interested in having any lag at all. So it's very important. Mobile content optimization offers automatic and simple image optimization, so that way your site loads faster on any device. Flexible month-to-month billing for as long as needed, and discounts also for fixed terms. You can design your contract when you switch to Cashfly. Cashfly delivers rich media content up to 158% faster than other major CDNs, and allows you to shield your site content in the cloud, ensuring a 100% cache hit ratio. And with Cashfly's elite managed packages, you will get the VIP treatment. Your dedicated account manager will be with you from day one, so that you get a smooth implementation and reliable 24/7 support when you need it. Learn how you can get your first month free at cashfly.com/twit. That's CACHEFLY.com/twit. Thank you to Cashfly for sponsoring this week's episode of This Week in Google. All right, so I think we might as well talk about a little bit of Google stuff, including Google saying, look, we know that the whole Find My device situation wasn't working as we expect, and we are definitely working on it in the coming weeks, I believe. So Find My Device Network is Google's own version of the kind of, you take a little tag and you put it on your bag. That's Amore. No, you take a little tag, you put it on your bag, and you are able to then find that bag through the network of other Android devices that are out there and other kind of Bluetooth peripherals. It creates this blanket system a blanket network where you're able to track your objects a little bit easier. Unfortunately, it There were a lot of complaints from folks that the system was just not working as expected. But Google says, don't worry, we are working on it. Google says we are actively working to roll out enhancements to how the Find My Device network operates that will improve the speed and ability of locating lost items over the coming weeks. Didn't realize it was that bad that they're like, we're going to make it work. Devices are continuing to join the new Find My Device network, and we expect the network to grow, which will also help improve lost device findability. We encourage Bluetooth tag owners to change their Find My Device network settings to with network in all areas to help improve the network's ability to find their lost items in lower traffic areas.
So here's a question I got for you. I'm trying to understand this. Since you're Apple people, I said that with some irony. I haven't been accused before of calling it my Apple. Did Apple do this differently in that is every phone they have by default able to find stuff and Google didn't, and now they're trying to convince people to expand their network? Or what's the difference between the two networks here? Because there's a lot of Android phones.
Yeah, I'm confused about that too now, because yes, Apple.
Paris.
I know.
Paris,
I figured it out. I was saying, sorry. Sometimes you take a little bite of salami and you mute yourself so that people don't have to hear mouth noises, and then you forget to unmute yourself. So it is how Android phones or Pixel phones work. That if you had like multiple phones or Google devices on it, you'd have to add each one individually to be able to find it. Is that how it works, or is it just automatic?
That's what I am not sure when it comes to Google, because for
Jeff, you're the Google boy here.
I don't know.
Have you never found something on your phone?
I don't know.
You don't lose things?
No. Well, I don't have tags.
I use the Find My feature on my iPhone all the time. But
really?
I always lose my AirPods everywhere in my home.
I have it.
And so then they have a nifty feature where you can just open up and it'll tell you like, not close. Then I walk in the other room and it's like, it's
hotter, colder,
near and to the right. And so I'm literally playing hotter, colder. And then it's like, they're here. And I'm like, I don't see them. And then they're like under my covers or something.
And they have a really good little speaker on the, I don't know if you've got the newer one that has a speaker on the outside, but yeah, the sound is piercing. So you can find it even if your dog has swallowed it. That hasn't happened. My dogs are too small for that, thank goodness.
I also use the Apple AirTags a lot as well. I have the same problem with my keys. They've got a speaker on those. I have one hidden in a secret compartment on my fancy bike, so I can always see where it is. And if it ever, God forbid, got stolen, I could track it down. I'm surprised that it's taken Google this long to maybe.
Yeah.
So this says
think about getting up to par.
Android devices participating in the Find My Device network use Bluetooth to scan for nearby items. So it seems like if you turn on Find My Device, which is even before there were these little tags, it was used to find your actual phone, then you are part of this by default. And I would think that's
how iPhones work as well. Every iPhone is part of the Find My Device network.
Mm-hmm. If you have on Find My on an iPhone or any of your devices, then they can participate in that network. And it says the same thing here for Android. So I don't know why. Okay, it says you can control how your Android device participates in the network at any time by visiting Find Your Offline Devices in the Find My Device settings and choosing between the following options. And then there's, wow, this is confusing. Okay, off, if you'd prefer not to participate in the Find My Device network or have the ability to find your own items when they are offline by storing encrypted recent locations with Google, you can choose to turn it off. Without network, it says you can still find some of your items when they're offline, including your Android device and the fast pair accessories connected to it, but you can't use tracker tags to find items like your wallet, your keys, or bike. This is very confusing. There are a lot of different options, and some of them help other people find their devices as well. And it seems like Google is saying, hey, we'd love it if you turn this on to make the network more robust for other people. So maybe there are more Android users who are actually turning that off, but it's been my anecdotal experience that most iPhone users have Find My turned on because they want to
find their own
phone.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They want to be able to find their phone, their iPad, whatever happens to be lost. So then you are automatically part of the Find My network. so it might just be kind of an implementation difference, but it sounds like. Go ahead.
Sorry, you're saying something important. I was going to say something meaningless if you want to continue.
I will quickly say it sounds like Google was not prepared in part for the huge blast of devices that were getting added to the network. And that is, they're kind of getting that figured out as well. Now, what were you guys ever,
I've found that one of the reasons I use Find My often is my phone is blue. I don't know if you can fully see it it's like a dark blue. Everything in my home is also this color. So I lose my phone all the time. And it will just be like in a couch cushion or on my bed or on a pillow that is the same color. So I use Find My to go onto my computer and then make my phone ping when I'm alone. And I assume have you guys ever done this or am I just alone?
I do Find My phone, but I use my Apple Watch to do
that
it.
makes sense. Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. Same, not for the same reason. I don't have a lot of blue stuff. But yeah, occasionally I'll lose my phone. Usually I've sat it down. What's stupid is that I will sit it somewhere and I go, I'm going to forget that I put this here because it's just on a normal place where I would put it. And then inevitably I have forgotten where I said I was going to forget that I put it. And so then I just swipe up on my watch and have it make the sounds. I think that's probably one of the features I use the most. Go ahead, Jeff.
Paris, I don't know if I want to pick you for being so, what shall I say, absent-minded?
I would describe it as more my mind is full of so many things.
Well, that's what I tell my wife,
I often forget.
Yes.
I mean, I also have ADHD, so there's a lot of stuff
going on. Do you use your
there.
glasses?
Do I lose my glasses?
Yeah.
No, because they're always on my face. They have to be on my face or I can't see.
So my phone is now equivalent to that.
Yeah.
You can't see without your phone?
No, well, I'm just never without it. It's always just with me because I'm more comfortable with it if I don't have it. But I am ditzy enough that I, honest to God, have been in cases where the phone is in my hand and I suddenly panic and say, "Where's my phone?"
There have been multiple times where I've been like, "Where's my phone?" I'm maybe like texting someone to call me. I'm going to pull open the Find My thing, and my phone is in my pants pocket. That's happened like more than once.
I can't claim either of those. I'm sorry. I do feel naked without my watch, so that is one thing where I notice it actively. I don't have that with my phone.
Okay, this story that we just did about Google potentially updating to Find My is a good segue into perhaps doing the changelog.
Beautiful. So speaking of the changelog, I don't know, how does it go? Do we have a sting?
Come on, there we go.
Google changelog.
Nice. First and foremost, is this an improvement to Google? And by Google, I mean Google.com. Google says we're getting rid of infinite scroll. Yeah, you're going to have to start paying 2 cents per search. No, infinite scroll on search results.
I've noticed this and I hate it.
I hate infinite scroll.
I was just getting used to it and then they kill it.
It has all that stupid stuff in between your search results that I don't want there. I just want my search results. So Google says that part of the reason it's doing this is because it will lead to performance improvements on finding your search. Yeah, if you only have to load a page at a time, you're going to get your search a lot faster. But I think secretly it's also because people keep complaining about how Google search has really just fallen apart. It's not like it used to be.
That's why I think infinite search will be better, because you can go scroll past any junky stuff and keep going.
But it's all junky stuff all the way down, it feels like.
Again, don't blame Google. Blame all the dorks who fill up the web with crap, and it's going to get worse with AI.
But what about those interstitials
here to find the good stuff?
You know, like so you'll have your search results, but then there's this part that scrolls this way. Am I just being trolled? I swear that's not just me. Yeah, the carousel. Like, why is
No, there's a carousel. And then also if I'm using mobile, I'll like get down, maybe like 10 results or something. Probably only 5 of them are non-sponsored. And then it'll be a different search. It'll be like other people search for blah, blah. And then it's the results for that. I'm like, I don't need that. I want my results.
And that's not the dweebs that you were talking about, Jeff. That's Google itself.
That's business.
Remember back in the day when they just had a bunch of O's? Or the search, it was like GOOOOO for all of the different search pages.
That was really good.
I loved that.
That was good. Yeah, it was nice.
It was cute.
Remember, I'm feeling lucky.
I remember I'm feeling lucky.
Oh, I love seeing you both as old farts.
And I don't tell anybody, but I swear to God, I had no idea what that button was for so long. And I was worried.
I will say also, I don't think there were years that went by that I didn't click because I was like, I don't think I'm feeling lucky.
Yeah.
I was genuinely concerned that it had this is really going to show you the religious trauma of my childhood. I was genuinely concerned that it had something to do with gambling, and gambling was very much against my religion growing up. And so I thought if I clicked the button, it was going to take me to a gambling site and I was going to be in trouble for it. So I would never click the button. And then finally, I think it was high school probably. And we had like a class in the library that was all about doing Google searches and learning all the fun little operators and things that you could do. And they explained like what the I'm feeling lucky button did. And I thought, I cannot believe. Yeah, I'm feeling lucky.
I have a very sharp memory of the middle school library class I was in where they explained Google search operators. And it was like, it's something that sticks in my head to this day. I was like, wow.
Yeah, the same time we were learning about using those like online, I don't know what the group noun is for the different databases like LexisNexis and elsewhere that had research articles and peer-reviewed stuff that you could look through.
Databases.
Databases. I remember learning about how to search those properly as well. Still handy to this day. And I still think about, I wonder if kids these days are being taught about what you need to do when you're looking at a research paper, and if look for the funding, look for the potential issues with ethics and all that stuff that we learned. I hope that's
so. All right, this is an old fart moment. Did you use libraries? Did you use card catalogs?
I never had the opportunity. I think that they maybe did one as like an object lesson. It was kind of like, look how they used to do it. Now we're going to show you how to do it this way. I don't think we did card catalogs.
So the Onion, I just saw a headline pass by on the socials. That library decides to eliminate Dewey Decimal System, files all books under B for book.
Okay, that broke my heart to hear that the one you said they were going to do away with the Dewey Decimal System.
I do remember learning about the Dewey Decimal System, though. I don't remember card catalogs, but I did have to learn things about the Dewey Decimal System.
Same. I was a little library kid. I was like a library assistant. I had a class period where I worked in the library.
The Dewey Decimal System is a great example. Is my friend David Weinberger, who's written all kinds of wonderful books. He was the co-author of the Clue Train Manifesto. I think Everything's Miscellaneous was the book where he describes the biases built into the Dewey Decimal System. Oh. There's like I'm going to get the wrong numbers here. There's like 100 numbers for Christianity. And there's like 10 numbers for Judaism. And then there's like 1 for everything else.
Wow.
Right? And because the bias built into the taxonomy and the presumptions of it is kind of fascinating.
Wow, I didn't think about that.
That is very interesting.
Wait, you guys learned about the Dewey Decimal System, but never used the card catalog? Because that's exactly what the Dewey Decimal System is for.
Well, but you
could still
looked up the books on the shelf.
Go to 100, and then you go down to 125 point blah blah blah.
Oh, so it was just like a spreadsheet or something, and it wasn't like an actual card catalog.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's see. It looks like. Yeah, the Bible has all of 220. Christianity has all of 230. Christian practice and observance has all of 240. Christian orders and local church has all of 250. Social and ecclesiastical theology has all of 260. History of Christianity has all of 270. Christian denominations has all of 280. And then 290 is other religions. Holy
Jews didn't
moly.
even get 10 points. I'm
Wow.
sorry. Yeah.
That is wild.
Isn't that insane?
Oh,
Why did
I'm
they ever teach
offended.
that?
And here I was. Yeah, here I was all the Dewey Decimal System. I will protect you. And now I'm like, oh, you can go the way of the dodo. All right. If you would like your Gemini to be as racist as your favorite YouTuber, Google will allow you to. No, it will not.
If you would like Gemini to trap one person of every age in a prison box and make content based on it, Google will let you do that now.
If you would like Gemini to stand behind a bush in a public location and scream at small people while they run away, Google will allow you to do that. So what we're getting at here is that Google says, guess what? You can make your chatbot, Gemini, a little bit more, I guess, human by making it like your favorite YouTuber. So maybe it's about kind of taking what would otherwise be a personality-free virtual assistant and adding just a dash, a sprinkle of personality to it.
A soupçon.
A soupçon, if you will. Yes, I will. Here's the problem that I have with this. In almost every case, it just means that the stupid thing is far more wordy than it would otherwise be. Is that not like, how else do you add personality than adding a bunch of words that don't need to be there while you're giving me my answer?
Oh.
Inflection?
I do think that's fair.
Yeah,
I guess if
fair,
it's
actually.
voice-based, yeah.
Yeah. Voice
I mean, I'm curious, do the YouTubers get a cut of this somehow?
Oh, come on. No way.
I mean, there can't be. There's no way that it's going to happen. But I mean, is Mr. Beast just going to be a chat bot now and he will have nothing to do with it?
Mr. Beast is, maybe he's already a chatbot. But yeah, that's true. Does he have a choice?
Wow. Google has stationed roughly 10 Google Labs employees in the project full-time, writes Gizmodo. They are all led by Ryan Germick, a longtime designer for the company and a former steward of Google Doodles. The man who brought you Google Doodles is now bringing you
the Google
YouTuber
Doodle
chatbots.
guy is making our chatbots into YouTubers. What YouTuber do I want? I don't know. Okay, here. Words can be difficult. Yeah, I just don't see the reason why I understand where someone's saying, look, I'm talking to this thing and I do want it to be more personable. Maybe that's what it is. You do want that best friend to talk to. So Leo, maybe he wants it to be like his favorite YouTuber. I don't know who his favorite YouTuber is, but whomever that happens to be.
Himself.
He is his own favorite YouTuber. Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go.
So it'd be like, you ask it how many llamas is equivalent to one elephant, and then it says 33.3, my guy. And then it's like your favorite YouTuber.
Interesting. I didn't realize this, which is my bad. This is based off of a report from The Information that came out a couple days ago from my colleagues Julia Hortenstein and John Victor. Julia, shout out, is our new intern, and this was her first scoop. But it's more broad than that. They write, Google has been developing a product for creating and conversing with customizable chatbots, which could be modeled on celebrities or made by users. The bots would be similar to like the personalities that Meta is putting out and character.ai, where they have chatbots based on celebrities like Tom Brady or Tony Soprano. I actually don't see much in here about it being YouTubers. I think that might have been more of an angle Gizmodo took. I mean, just, I guess, extrapolating from the creators or celebrities model. But I mean, you could, I guess, if you were a creator, use these tools to engage with your fans more, kind of like what Meta is doing for Instagram and Facebook creators. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it reminds me of Amazon occasionally bringing in a star to record lines in order to be the ALEXA voice. And so you could talk to it. Who was it? Samuel L. Jackson was one example. And those went away, those celebrity voice versions, but they were there for a little while. and it didn't work so well. But yeah, perhaps for some people, it's the equivalent of, putting a case on your phone, or I don't know, putting Lisa Frank stickers on your Trapper Keeper. It's like, how are you customizing your chatbot? What does your chatbot sound like today? You could try on, different styles, but I hope that it is with the consent of the celebrity, or quote unquote celebrity.
Yeah, it says as part of the effort, Google has discussed striking partnerships with influencers to create chatbots based on them. Google plans to launch the feature as a standalone product, but has also discussed eventually integrating it into YouTube. So maybe, Mr. Beast will get a slice of something.
And he will live on forever.
He will he'll live on forever in the chat.
Wow.
We've got a real humdinger of a closing out here for the Google changelog, really taking us to the highest of highs here. Updates such as Google Messages will now let you view larger contact photos. Wow. And Google Cast is coming to more hotel room TVs
that makes
later
me
this
happy.
year.
That makes me very happy.
That actually, I think that could. Yeah. I don't travel a whole lot, but I don't use Google Cast. So, but conceptually speaking, if I were to put on the empathy and stand in the shoes of someone who does use devices that can cast via Google Cast, I think this would be great. Yeah, because then you can just use your phone and
because you go to the hotel room, it's all the same now. So MSNBC is 21 in every hotel room I go into now, because it's whichever satellite thing it is. And they got the horrible little remote. I know it's sad, isn't it? Me sitting alone in the hotel room at night.
It's just the sad thing is that instinctively what the channel for NBC is, MSNBC is on any hotel room.
Yeah, that's it. What am I going to do?
Is it playing right next to you right now?
Yes.
Sorry, continue.
There's proof.
Oh, there we go. Oh my God. It's a tiny little... That is actually that might usurp calling Macs apples as the most grandpa thing that's happened on this.
Well, I got a Google Chromecast for it. It only that TV is so old, it has only one HDMI.
Oh.
Yeah, kind of sad. But anyway,
like it's so cute. It's a little TV with
just a little guy.
Yeah,
it's old.
It's so cute.
So I go to the hotel room, and if it says, you can watch Netflix. Well, then you got to sign in.
Yes, and then you forget to sign out. Yes.
Right. So if I could just use my machine and then cast it up there, that'd be wonderful.
I think that is good. And that means that... Go ahead.
I will also say, in a very Google move, the brand Google Cast used to be called Chromecast built-in and was renamed Google Cast at I/O 2024, which is one of the most Google caveats ever. Continue.
I was just going to say, it's nice that Google is kind of matching with Apple in that way. So no matter what, of the two platforms that are the most popular, no matter which of those you're using, you are able to then cast content to the screen, because Apple has also been doing more of a push into offering AirPlay in those different locations. So that'll be good that they're both available. And then to round things out in a very googly way, Google is sunsetting yet another product. It's called Stack PDF Scanner. And I will be honest in saying, I'd never heard of this.
Nope. But we're going to be mad it's gone.
Dang it. Not another one. I'm angry. I'm so angry, I'm going to throw this can of LaCroix across the room.
Wow. Here you are drinking LaCroix, and I was trash talking it before the show. I'm so sorry, Mikah.
It's okay. It's true that Spindrift is the superior sparkling water. Although apparently none of it compares to whatever French thing.
Badois.
Omelette du fromage.
Badois pamplemousse.
Badois. Please meet me in my boudoir. All right. So if you used Stack, you're going to have to use something else. It was a PDF
Apparently,
scanner.
It's already integrated into Google Drive.
So
like many things in Google that are done away with, it already existed somewhere else.
Oh, those little teams that are like, we're going to make this really cool thing. And then you find out that another team was also making that really cool thing. And unfortunately, they were part of a bigger team that gets, it's sad.
Or it was a little company that Google bought. And then a team inside Google just made a better thing.
Darn
Such a hard life for those developers being paid how many hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
But they're going to be all, just like Mikah's therapist, they're all going to be unnecessary soon.
Listen, I really like my therapist, so you just had better stop.
I love that you're coming for Mikah's therapist this week.
I'm going to have to talk to her about it when I meet her next. Listen, I was on, and here's what happened. And I just want to make sure you're okay. And that is there something I should ask her specifically to see that she's not AI?
You should ask her to spin that little top from Inception.
Great idea.
You need to ask her to point out which one are actual mountains and which one aren't.
Yeah, I can show her 2 photos of...
show her 16 photos and ask her to pick out which ones are buses.
Show her 2 photos of Spider-Man and say, how are they different?
Has she ever watched... Wait.
I know what I can do.
I gotta keep going here. I know I'm probably... Has she ever watched one of your shows?
No. Yeah, which I'm happy about.
Yeah, it's like Howard Stern's doesn't listen to him.
Yeah, I would be... the only person who's ever... has ever said to me, hey, I know you already, was my chiropractor. And he's been pretty cool. So that was fine. But Leo's not here, so I can talk about chiropractic, because when he's here, he goes on rants about chiropractic. So what was I saying? Oh, I can show her a photo of a child crossing a street. And if she says I should keep driving, then I know that she's AI. But if she's a human being, then she'll say, stop the car. Because the artificial
That's very
intelligence
smart.
systems.
That's very smart. I've just put it down as my pick of the week. I've got a Captcha test that your therapist can take to prove that she is or is not AI.
So let us move into the picks of the week. It is time for our picks. As I mentioned, was not originally going to be on the show, but I'm happy to be here. That does mean I do not have a pick, but I would love to hear about your picks. And you know what, Paris, let's have you go first.
So a great game for your therapist to play if you want to prove her humanity is this Captcha from a show that I've mentioned on this show a lot. I'm really into this network called Dropout from the people formerly from College Humor. Yes. They created this Captcha game, which was part of one of their game things. And so it says, pick all the images that represent a Sunday morning. And it's a little tricky. It's definitely the Sunday comics and the church. We can definitely do those just to keep it going on. Brunch. And now select all images. You've got to click those. I'll give you a freebie on this one. Those are the 2 correct answers.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Select all the images.
So you're right. This problem with Captcha, you don't know how many. Like find 5, okay, but
no, I think it's 4 of them. Yes, I was right.
Yes.
Zebras that are that are white with
black stripes. And so you can keep going on. It's kind of a fun little game. It gets a little harder. I think there might be 5 or 6 different questions. This was on an episode of Game Changer, which is kind of their game show where the premise changes every show, where the premise of that game was you had easy questions the contestants had to answer, but in order to buzz in, each time they hit a buzzer, it deactivated afterwards. They had to run around the studio trying to find buzzers. And one of the buzzers was hidden behind a series of captchas, which they released to the world. So I invite you all to explore it. My pick for the week that I was planning on doing before this is a website called 1millioncheckboxes.com. It is a website that just has 1 million checkboxes on it. Oh. And it's the same, it might take a bit to load because it's the same page for everybody who visits it. And
gosh.
You can turn the checkboxes
when I'm turning
on
it on, I'm turning it on for everybody?
collaboratively check
I'm going to try and turn off all the boxes.
Wait, that means that somebody's unchecking them like some sort of monster?
Yes, I'm unchecking all the ones in the top row right now as fast as I can, but I
can see you doing it
by people. Yeah.
Why are there some that are colored boxes around the box?
I think because it might be like somebody holding it down.
Oh,
But
yeah. So you can make it so that no one else can uncheck the box because you're keeping it all down.
Yeah, so I've unchecked 56 boxes so far.
You monster.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's a fun little website that I've been enjoying myself on.
Have you ever been on it when it's gotten to 1 million?
No, I hadn't even thought of that, to be honest. I just immediately was like, I need to uncheck a full row and have it stay that way. And I did not have any further thoughts. But I guess that is a really good point. Maybe they should all be checked. You know?
Yeah, I want them all to be checked. And it's never going to happen. I'm so stressed. This is like that DVD screen where the DVD box never hits the corner.
Is.
Oh my God.
So if you scroll all the way to the bottom,
folks.
there are people there.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, all the check boxes are kind of filled down. Oh, no, there's some that are.
Oh, I found a line where people really aren't unchecking. Ooh, I'm getting somebody checked.
Now, geez, now suddenly there's lots at the last page. Is that you guys?
Oh, that must be somebody.
The show?
It must be the show because it's not me.
Oh, power. This is so cool. Nobody was there, and now there's tons.
I'm in a spot that's good. No, someone's in my section unchecking my boxes. Get out of here. You don't go here.
Carpal tunnel checkbox.
Yeah, exactly. No,
I'd love it if they'd show how many people are on the website at a current moment. Anyway, it reminded me of the thing, the fish gate that Leo showed on the show the other week, which, Mike, I don't know if you know about this, but there's a gate where people in some country, where fish can be let in or out of a river or lake bed, and people just sit on the internet waiting for a fish to arrive, and then they open the gate. It's kind of like that. But
I love this. Except I will never get what I want, which is all of the boxes checked.
I don't know. One day it could happen. I say that as I'm unchecking boxes right now.
That's like we're going to have world peace and Congress is going to work again. No.
All right, Jeff, what do you got?
Okay, so I philosophically, I object often when people say, that's creepy about technology. Because I am, as we discussed earlier in the show, I am of the school that it's here, deal with it. It's not creepy in and of itself. It's how people use it. It's shush. I have found truly creepy technology. Line 156. Scientists have created, using human skin cells, they have created a face that smiles.
I don't like that.
It's really creepy, right? Scroll down and you'll see it smile. In the video there. It's a tweet.
Why does it have to have creepy eyes too?
I know. That's human skin that's smiling.
And
useful
it's so
for humanoid robots in the future.
No, stop it. No.
So that's really creepy. But when I tweeted that, cheating on the show as I do once in a while, a friend of mine, Imposan, this is the next line down. For those of you on video, without video, sorry you can't see this. But he says, this is perfect Germany. In Germany, they have Gesichtswurst, face sausage. If you go to the next line down.
Excuse me?
Benito, you're there.
Oh.
Sausage with different colors in it so that it has a face on it. So you eat the face when you eat the wurst.
Oh, this is like those places where they have cupcakes that they print out. No, I guess it's not that. I think the face or what am I trying to say? The frosting artist will do this whole photo of your face.
Right.
And then it's just like you're eating your own face. That's just kind of weird.
Yeah. I thought given that Paris was before eating some kind of sausage.
Salami, yeah.
I thought she might like here and have some Gesichtswurst.
I think honestly, I'm not good. I would eat face sausage.
Yeah, I'm not bothered by the face sausage. Not bothered by the face sausage is something I never thought would ever come up in words that I would use, but certainly bothered by that pink, wet,
yeah,
moving face.
Human, but knowing that it's made from human skin.
Yeah. And is it lab grown human skin? Did someone donate human skin?
Did they consent to their human skin sample being used to make that weird face?
They need to make They need to make it say, nice to see you, Clarice.
Yeah. Oh, it could be a body donated to science.
Imagine if you're like, all right, I'm going to do something noble. I'm going to donate my body to science. And that's what ends up happening if you get turned into a weird flesh face.
Oh.
So they have, they're also the picture there is a 3D facial mold covered with living skin.
Do we have to do that though? Why does it have to be humans? Why does it have to be alive?
Hey, it's science, man.
But there's so many, maybe they're saying, look, the synthetic skins we could make could never compare to the beauty that is the human skin. And then I just want to have an interview with the top scientist who's doing this and say, I just need to know if there's something wrong with you first before I allow you to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really good, like, second or third question. Like, you ask him a little bit about the project, you get him going, and then you're like, so what's wrong with you? Are you a child of divorce?
Okay, I might have an answer for this question. It's made in Japan. These are Japanese folks who do this. So do it that way.
Well, is that a Filipino slur on the Japanese?
Yeah, I have to.
Is that a judgment?
This now. No. Judgment being passed.
There's always weird stuff, and it's always cultural Japanese stuff that we don't understand.
Got it. So I'll learn. Japanese.
It does look like some sushi I wouldn't eat.
Oh no, you're making it worse. Oh,
first time I had sushi, I had to go because it was not popular when I was younger. Nobody ate sushi. It was bizarre and weird and foreign. There was a friend of mine who worked for Sports Illustrated, and he was a great sushi fan. And I'd go with him for lunch, and I'd have what he was having, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. Then one night I went to the place on my own, and I suddenly didn't know what I was eating, and it was tough.
Yeah, that made it harder, huh?
Yeah.
None of it was.
I wish
face
there was
sausage,
a way
though.
for me to Google whose skin is this, but nothing is coming up.
Does it say anything in the paper?
The researchers from the University of Tokyo, Japan, hope the breakthrough could one day prove useful in cosmetics industry and help to train plastic surgeons.
Oof. Okay. I guess if you did a full facial surgery, and part of it was the loss of some of the musculature in the face that helps to make you smile. If you could replace that with robotics, because that's basically, this was really about, it wasn't about making like growing skin that could be put on a robot. It was more, can we attach skin to a robotic piece and have it actually do something? So yeah, I guess now if I think about it, if you could give somebody a face back if they've had some horrible thing happen and give them the ability to smile again or something, that'd be kind of cool.
But Paris, you raised an important point, because was there an ethical? All scientists all academic papers and studies have to go through ethical reviews for the human impact. I wonder whether there was an ethical review.
Well, I don't know. Paris is a conspiracy theorist, so maybe she doesn't think that they'll have to go through ethical reviews. Let's see. Yeah, it's in. Let's see. Why don't I just feed this article
and just ask ChatGPT whose skin is
that?
This?
Is precisely what I'm going to do. I'm going to literally paste the link, and then I'm going to hit Shift Enter, and then I'm going to say, "Whose skin is this?" ? And let's see what it says. The engineered skin tissue in question belongs to a humanoid robot. Nope. Especially designed skin. No.
Where do the skin cells come from?
Where did the skin come from? Cultured cells.
I was going to say they were purchased from Chromocell GBTH and cultured in fibroblast growth medium.
It says, combining human skin cells with a collagen matrix.
So they bought the human cells?
On the black market. It doesn't say. Whose skin is this?
Until AI is able to tell me whose skin this is, I'm not trusting it.
It's bad enough as is, but the fact that it smiles.
Yeah, that is creepy.
The science behind this is that evidently this stuff has tags. And so if you want it to stick in a robot or a human, you use these tags to do that. And so it's moving the tags.
Yeah, it's kind of like a facelift. You just
basically
sort of pull on the tags and then you just tape it.
If you click on the paper, or you may not want to do this, but if you click on the paper and go down the video, you see how it's being done. It's not so mysterious.
I prefer to keep it as a mystery. Do you have any other
I'm going to live in a mystery.
Or any other picks for us, Jeff?
Well, actually, okay, then we'll leave. But Calculating Empires is this amazing infographic, a genealogy of technology and power since 1500.
Whoa.
So if you go in, you'll see things like, well, television counts on cathode ray tubes and the diode, but it also leads to porn, the mechanical TV, film. I'm just reading across.
Leaflet bomb.
Incredible graphic that I haven't really been able to dig into, but it's huge. For those of you who can't see it, it's just, if it were done at a readable level, it'd be gigantic. And so it's different kinds of technologies over the period of history.
This is very cool. Oh my goodness.
Gutenberg has to be in there. Printing press is big.
Transparent sticky tape introduced in 1930.
Right. So if you go up from printing press, if you go back to where you were, because I'm here, so you got to do that. Right. So then it goes into etching, censorship and control, growth and relief printing, intaglio printing, weekly newspapers, birth of copyright, fonts like Baskerville and Dido and Bodoni, periodicals being invented, rotary printing. This is good. Graphic design, photocopying, book burnings. There's a whole line just of fonts through the years. Eventually, it'll have the font with LLMs built in. So anyway, I thought this. So there being a geeky show, if you want to go with the rundown, you might have fun exploring this gigantic infographic.
The Philadelphia clip came before the Gem paperclip that we know and use today.
Who would have known? What's the Philadelphia clip?
It looks like a ribbon, like a red, like a breast cancer awareness ribbon or any of the other ribbons where it's like.
Oh, that came before? You're kidding.
That came before the Gem paperclip, which came in 1892. The Philadelphia clip came in 1867. They did apparently invent a paperclip afterward called the Niagara clip. It looks kind of like a complicated M, but apparently not as popular as the Gem paperclip, which I didn't know was called the Gem paperclip.
Well, I've seen it on the box. I always thought that was a trade name. It wasn't the kind of description. The Philadelphia paperclip, I had to buy a white shirt to be able to testify. That's what they use to keep the sleeves in the box.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Wow. I found out where the skin came from. I don't know if you guys want to know.
Go.
I do.
Yes, we do.
It's from a company called PromoCell. It's called normal human dermal fibroblasts. And it's described on the website as, and I quote, primary normal human dermal fibroblasts isolated from the dermis of juvenile foreskin or adult skin.
Oh my God.
Stop.
No.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
Oh, Jesus.
It's the scraps at the hospital, right?
So it's either that or it came from adult skin from different donors. But, that's just what the website said. And I thought you all needed to know.
So it's a smiling penis face.
Potentially.
Show title.
No,
we can't.
Oh, come on. Smiling penis face. No bad words.
That's actually
there.
pretty good.
People are going to want to watch the show to find out, and they got to watch all 3 hours to find out what it is.
You can apparently request the available donors and ask.
I don't want to know
donor criteria.
Hi, I would
Paris,
like to let you know what I did.
Paris is a reporter.
Amen.
This is what it's all about,
scraping.
All right, here's the next
question.
Paris, Can you buy them and can we order some for Leo?
We could get 500,000 cells of juvenile foreskin cryopreserved for $662.
Oh, but come on. Let's do a Kickstarter.
I think
for
we
this.
can't.
It's cryopreserved too, so he'd open it up and he'd be like,
Lisa says you ordered what?
Oh, they've got a real sale on just adult, no specification cryopreserved.
We don't want to know.
You can get it for $323.
It's like, where did that even come from? Great. Who knows? Holy cow. My life was changed today because I just wonder now how much skin that is used in research is actually coming from that, from the byproduct of genital mutilation, which it is.
It's true. There's a lot of trucks talking about that in New York City.
My sister, when she was pregnant, I was ready. I had pamphlets. I was ready to.
Uncle Micah's going to protect this kid.
Yes. I was not protected, and neither were your other siblings. And so I will make sure that this child is protected, and you will know everything that's involved. Anyway, we didn't have to use them. She has 2 girls. But I was ready to march with my, 97 theses? How many theses? And nail them on the wall.
You added 2. Mm-hmm. All right. So when you promote the show this week, you've got to say how long is the show right now, Benito? Where did this start?
2:30.
Minute 2:30. Folks, you gotta watch.
This is why you watch to the end.
2:30. Yeah.
Yeah. We all learned something today. Something we can't unlearn.
It's true. I was I feel like you need to know.
That was brilliant reporting, Paris. That was good.
Thank you.
How many steps did that take?
It took a lot of me reading totally inscrutable medical.
I just don't. Why do they have to call them normal? It's like don't worry, they're totally normal.
I'm sure there's a market for abnormal cells.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe. Yeah. Did you just say a market for abnormal foreskins?
No, cells.
Oh.
You got something on the brain, Mikah.
That's where. Well, so we'll keep the theme here. That's somebody's bought my prostate, and.
I'm done. The show is over, folks. If you would like,
we drove him out of here.
This show starts recording every Wednesday around about 2 p.m. Pacific. You can head to twit.tv/TWIG twig to subscribe to the show in audio and video formats. That is where you will also find the show notes for this show, including links to things this week that you're going to learn about, whether you want to or not. Folks, I want to mention that I would like to invite you to join Club Twit at twit.tv/Club Twit. When you join the club for $7 a month, you get access to some pretty great things. First and foremost, every single one of our shows ad-free. It's just the content, none of the ads, because you, in effect, are supporting the show. You also gain access to the video versions of our club shows, including the Untitled Linux Show, Hands on Mac, iOS Today, Hands on Windows. All of that is yours as video as well. You gain access to the Twit Plus bonus feed that has extra content you won't find anywhere else, behind the scenes, before the show, after the show. Special Club Twit events get published there. So when you join, you're going to get access to this great back catalog of content and access to the members-only Discord server, a fun place to go to chat with your fellow Club Twit members and those of us here at Twit. Paris Martineau, if folks want to keep up with what you're doing, where do they go to do that?
You can follow me on Twitter at Paris Martineau, on Blue Sky at paris.nyc, or send me your tips about tech companies big and small by reaching out to me on Signal at martineau.10. I
just want to say, never mind. Nope, never mind. I'm not going to say
do it.
Jeff,
do it.
I was just going to say, after the links you just shared with us, send me your tips has a whole different meaning. That's all I was going to say.
Do not send me those. And it's martino.01. But if you are going to send any of the bad kind of tips, you should send it to martino.10 because I don't want them.
Jeff, how about you, friend?
Well, folks, you see, being able to see the reaction to this discussion in the Discord is itself worth $7 a month. I'm telling you, join the Discord. I'm sorry I'm orange right now. The light changed. I don't know what's doing. Screw that. Just go and join and pay $7 because the Discord is having a whole bunch of fun.
I, on the other hand, am not. You can find me at Mikah Sargent on many a social media network, or you can head to chihuahua.coffee. That's CHIHUA.coffee, where I've got links to the places I'm most active online. No, I have had a delightful time
until the end,
joining you all on This Week in Google this week. And you can expect, I would think, Leo back next week for another episode.
If this show continues.
If the show continues.
It might just be shut down.
Thank you all for tuning in, and we will see you again next week. Bye-bye.